I missed one Christmas, and she said, "Where is my gifts from last year? Tell me, where's all the things I gave you last Christmas?"
Really?
Yeah, she wanted to know exactly where they had gone.
So she wasn't the most subtle person or tactful. Sounds like
A very mean, narcissistic. I mean, she was under
My
the.
answer every time would have been the pawn shop. Thank you.
All right. Welcome to episode 232 of the Linux Lugcast. We're an open podcast /lug that meets at 9 p.m. Eastern every first and third Friday of the month using Mumble. We encourage anyone listening to join us and participate in the podcast. Check out linuxlugcast.com for the server details. And I really need to go onto the website and fix the server details to the new server details. If you have any questions, comments, or topics you'd like to discuss and are unable to join us live during the show, you can send us an email at feedback@linuxlugcast.com. We also have a subreddit, which nobody really checks anymore, a Lemmy page where we post things where we usually talk about on the show, a Matrix server where we sit around and talk and chat about many things from Linux to God knows what else. We have a YouTube channel and a PeerTube channel where we post a video version of the podcast. Links for all of those are in the show notes and on the website. I am your host for this evening, Honky Magoo. With us tonight is Eric.
Good evening.
Jackie.
Present.
Joe.
Yep, I'm here.
Lovecraft.
Hello, everyone.
Morrissey.
Good evening.
And Netminer.
Hello, folks.
All right. So, usual start off with things. Has anybody been working on anything recently? Joe, you killed your
Nextcloud fixed.
Yeah, you got it fixed.
Yeah, to work around. So, for some reason, like Apache was taking over port 80, and my Nextcloud was no longer accessible. So I moved it to port 81, and then I redid my port forwarding from port 80 to port 81 internally. And my Joplin started working again, and my Nextcloud is syncing. So pictures I take on my phone are now showing up on my server again.
There you go. Now you don't have. Do you have any servers public facing?
Yeah, that one is public facing.
Oh, that one is public facing, and you're not using 443.
Yeah, that's true. Same with my audiobook shelf.
Shame.
It is a shame. I should be using HTTPS, but I'm not.
That proxy manager might help with that too. I have multiple things that run on port 80, and then
put a link.
What?
You said an application there, right?
Proxy manager.
Port manager. Proxy manager.
Yeah.
Put a link.
We
take
put
a look at it.
We've never heard us talking about nginx proxy manager.
Man, how often do I listen to you?
Do you not listen when anybody else besides you talk?
Well, when you talk, my brain shuts off. You're just so pretty.
I understand that. I understand that. Do you want me to put a link to nginx proxy manager? I can do that.
Yes, I just said yes. God, put a link. That's what the show notes are for.
I've started doing stuff with like Tailscale. I may look at other options with that point-to-point sort of, or the, I guess, VPN mesh. It's just convenient. So if I'm at a doctor's office or something, I want to get to my stuff, I just start Tailscale and I can get to it. Nothing has to be exposed.
I guess the only other thing I've really been working on Go ahead.
Oh, Eric said tail scale. I said WireGuard.
Right.
I think I'm going to have to put in a script on my Pi Zero to auto restart because after like a week or so, my WireGuard just stops working, and then I have to SSH into it and reboot it.
Reboot it? Have you tried restarting WireGuard? Maybe put something that restarts WireGuard.
Maybe because it also runs my Pi hole, so it might be better just to have it automatically restart once a week.
I've been trying to figure out the best distro for my tablet PC. Been using Fedora on it just to have a GNOME shell, session, and that's all fine. But I don't know. Fedora just isn't really the easiest thing for me to work with on at least that device. So I'm still haven't quite figured it out yet. I wanted to see if CPU Freak, I think that was what it's called, but it's supposed to help with battery life because I'm not getting like the best battery life on the device. And but something cool that I've played with was that I'm using is called Howdy. It's a sort of an open source version of Windows Hello, and this tablet has IR camera, for face recognition. And so yeah, this project called Howdy lets you log in, so it's hooked in a GDM, so you can get in through the login prompt, and then also for sudo commands. So you type sudo whatever, and then it instead of needing a password, it uses the face cam. I want to hook it into other stuff too, see if I can just sort of make it work. And it's totally unnecessary. I mean, it's not like it's that hard to type a password, but on a touch device, instead of needing to use the on-screen keyboard to tap in the password, it's kind of nice to just have it recognize you. So, but just been trying to sort of mold my Linux use into that type of device because I've never really used Linux on a touchscreen device, not even like a laptop. So, been fun.
Do you use the soft keyboard?
On-screen keyboard or the one on that is on the cover?
Yeah, the keyboard cover.
Yeah, it's not bad. There's some flex to it, but honestly, like the hardest thing with that is because it has that very thin kickstand. It's kind of uncomfortable to put on your lap. So, I try to
definitely not lap friendly.
No. I mean, it's nice if you're holding it in your hand as a tablet. But yeah, if you have the keyboard on it and you're trying to get it in a position where it's comfortable to type, it's not really great for the lap. So if you have it on a surface, it's fine. But yeah, the typing's fine. I'm really surprised at how good the touchpad is for gesture support and stuff like that. It's actually pretty sensitive, especially for being 5 years old. Because back then, really wasn't like the highest priority to have great touch recognition and sensitivity. So, but it supports all the gestures and is sensitive enough to actually use to like work on stuff where you need to be able to click small areas and things like that.
It's a question. On a device like that, how many times do you think you would actually use it on an actual table?
Believe it or not, for me, I would, and the reason being is it's just because it's so light and portable.
Okay.
I mean, it's as powerful as a laptop.
Yeah.
Essentially, and it gets good enough battery life that I won't need an outlet, and it's just really just light enough that I can. It's under 3 pounds, so to be able to have that form factor carried around, be able to take the keyboard off if I wanted to. It's got a lot of utility to it. And because it's powerful enough to use as a laptop replacement, I actually do find that I will use it on a table. And you can use it on your lap. But what I end up doing is just putting like a towel on my lap, and that, just so you don't have that sharp edge.
Sure.
Because it's literally just a thin, thin piece of metal. So,
right. Yeah.
But
How was the
honestly,
angle?
Go ahead.
I was just the angle when you're trying to use it on like a tabletop. How is the angle on it?
So it has this. You see how it pops straight out to that?
Yep.
That's kind of the angle. It sits comfortably on the desk, but then you can adjust it to whatever you want. And then if you're like, it has pen support, so if you're drawing, you can have it be all the way out like this. And then obviously if you're using it like a tablet, just have it be closed. So the utility of it and having that built in is really nice. I like having the keyboard cover is actually backlit, so that's nice to be able to use it in the evening. The screen is super bright, so I actually have it turned way down normally in just in like a normal room. So it's great for if you're in a bright room, you can turn it way up. The only thing, so the cameras aren't supported, which is actually pretty common, I guess, from a lot of devices, that the cameras they don't ever write drivers for them or whatever. So the IR camera works for the facial recognition, but the actual cameras on the front and the back don't work. But otherwise, everything, it's a Dell, so everything else works perfectly fine. And yeah, for being as old as it is, it's a quad core processor and 16 gigs of RAM, 512 SSD, M.2. So the performance was actually very surprising to me. I really thought it was going to be kind of like, it's a tablet. It's not really going to be like super fast but I mean, for everything I've done with it, I mean, I wouldn't want to encode video or do something like crazy heavy lifting, but the fact that it's silent, it has a fan and it does turn on, but it's so quiet you don't ever really hear it. It came with Windows 10 on it, and I upgraded it to Windows 11 just to see how it would run. And yeah, it runs Windows 11 better than my laptop does, which doesn't make any sense. But and then I put Fedora. It was 39 beta whenever I installed it, and now it's out, so it's just 39, and it's fine. But yeah, Fedora. I'd rather have a Debian base for my purposes. I'm just more comfortable with that. But I just haven't gotten around to everything right now is sort of experimental. So I'm happy to just sort of leave Fedora on there and not keep changing everything at once. Just kind of leave that, figure out what I like and how it works with different, software tweaks and stuff like that. So the CPU Freak thing is supposed to help with battery life, and it's really it just runs in the background. You don't really do anything with it. I haven't had great luck with things like TLP. So I'm just going to see how that works. The battery life says it's only about 60% health. So it's already not going to get great longevity because of that. The new battery's I think it's about $100, which is almost as much as I pay for it.
Wow.
So, but what's great is because it's performed so well, I can see that it would be worth replacing it if I needed that sort of longevity, because it still runs well enough that I could see using this thing for several more years. And actually, my daughter's been eyeing it up because she likes the form factor, and actually it would be so portable and easy for her to just take with her anywhere she wanted. And because it's so cheap, if she broke it, it's $150, so whoop-de-doo, so it's not nothing, but it's better than here's $1,000 laptop,
Right,
please don't
exactly.
break it, so so it's been all positive. It's amazing that for the the age that it is, how well it performs, and how inexpensive it was, and how, just the form factor and the design. It has 2 USB-Cs and 1 USB-A port, which is great. It has an SD card slot. It has, everything just works really, really well.
Replaceable M.2.
Yeah, it comes apart, so it's not like it's a shameless copy of a what is the Surface Book in form factor and function, but you can still open it. Whereas a Surface Book is basically glued together, and it's almost impossible to service. This, you can take the back off and you change the battery, change the memory, change the drive. So yeah,
Nice.
It's-
See, I asked because I've tried using in the past, like even just regular sized tablets as with like small keyboards, and it's rough to find a good angle to lay to have to set the thing up at, because of it doesn't, a tab I mean a laptop, it's kind of set up and you can almost get it at like a 90-degree angle, as opposed to trying to lay it back in some way. Yeah, I almost feel like that if I ever did it, I'd have to be like sitting in a chair, plop it on the side of the chair, and then just have a Bluetooth keyboard to work with it.
yeah. Honestly, so far it's been really, because of the variable angle on that kickstand part. It really does make it so that you can always get it to be where you want it to be. I read the complaint of the previous model of this was that it's only had a couple spots, and then otherwise it was just loose and it would just like literally fall. Whereas this one, they did a much better job of making it so that it's stiff anywhere you put it, and so you can really adjust it to just how you want it. And you can use the keyboard cover either up at an angle so that it gives you sort of a nice typing surface, or you can have it be flat. The complaint is that there's a little bit of flex to it. I mean, it's thin. Of course, there's some flex to it, but the key travel is decent. The backlighting's nice. It's two level backlight. Yeah, I mean, it's. I really did not expect to like this thing nearly as much as I do, and I already sort of love the idea that. So I don't know if you guys agree with me on this. So I've sort of been thinking about the fact that Moore's Law for a long time really had a huge impact on the longevity of hardware. And like, you think of the roots of Linux and like things that Windows would no longer run on because it basically just didn't have the horsepower to do it anymore. That's where the utility of Linux really came in and lets you extend the life of something. Whereas I feel now, maybe 10 years ago, something that was 5 years old, it would really feel 5 years old. Like you try to do real normal basic stuff, web browsing and file operations, and then, like everything would just feel slow. Whereas like this thing is 5 years old and it doesn't, like, there's nothing about it that feels bogged down or slow. And I'm sure it would if I was really pushing it hard enough, but for everything that I've done on it, it just feels like a normal computer. Like it doesn't feel like I'm shortcutting or I'm, compromising or anything like that. Like it just works. And so my thought process is like hardware has just gotten so sort of like there's minimal changes between generations at this point. I feel like, there's not huge gains like there used to be. Like every generation previously, maybe in the early 2000s, it felt like every new processor generation was like, whoa, like big time difference. And now it kind of feels like, yeah, it's a little faster. Maybe the TDP is a little lower, so the wattage is lower, the heat generation is smaller. Like
a lot of what drove that was what still probably drives it is like gaming. I mean,
Yeah.
gaming is still pushing things forward with video graphics and hardware acceleration and all that stuff. And then beyond that, you're talking about people who are doing video editing and I don't know what's
Maybe
another video
scientific
intensive
computing.
thing.
Yeah,
sure,
scientific computing stuff.
but
yeah.
but the level of people who are doing scientific computing is pretty small compared to people who are gaming, because that's so gaming is where all that money is going. That's why people are coming up with these, building these rigs with like liquid cooling and all this other stuff. But if that, even that is just is a small portion of it's the people who are doing that and building these machines with crazy overclocked CPUs with that need liquid cooling is gotten pretty small, to the point where most people who are using their computers, or who are still actually using their computers, and have not just gone to, hey, I can use my phone to do all that stuff I was doing before. They can get away with just about anything, because most of what you do is, like you said, it's web browsing. It's some you can do. I mean, GIMP. I've run GIMP on some like really old hardware before. Like all
Yeah.
my stuff is. You're talking about 5 years old. I think all my stuff was used 5 years ago. So we're going on like, it's many years ago. I mean, one of my favorites is my T430 over here, and it's all my stuff is old, but it works fine. I can do video editing, audio editing,
So let me
that do pictures and stuff, and I don't have anything more than, like, the highest I have is 8 gigs of RAM over here. I have nothing higher than 8 gigs of RAM.
Well, let me ask you, since for me, I've dealt with a lot of older laptops lately, with like family members handing over old ones that they don't use and wanting me to either at least clean them off, but repurpose them or whatever. And to me, one of the biggest differentiators, especially for laptops, is the screen quality. There was a big shift between like the old panels with the terrible viewing angles and the very milky, like, washed out view, and like
That's
there
all
was
I
that. So you're just kind of used to it, I guess.
Oh
I don't
yeah,
know.
absolutely. I have nothing
Like,
but like, but old crappy looking things. The best thing I have is I inherited somebody's old iPad, and that's I use that to just watch some videos and stuff, and that's got a really nice screen on it. But that's like the best screen I have in the house. I have just nothing but really, really old hardware here.
well, I don't know. I get, my eyesight has gotten pretty bad recently, and so I appreciate a nice crisp display. I can tell you that much. But even
My
still,
eyesight's getting bad, and I can't tell the difference.
that's the other thing.
It
Is
all
this
starting to look milky.
at 12.5 inches? Like, this is sort of the perfect mobility spot. Like 10 inches is too small, so like a tablet size for me, like that's just, I can't do anything with that. And I have a 15-inch laptop, which is still pretty, I mean, it's an XPS, so it's not like it's heavy. I can still carry it if I needed the full keyboard and all that. But honestly, I haven't run into anything. So I've always had Android tablets, and I have had iPads too, but like normally like Samsung Galaxy tabs and stuff. And the biggest complaint I always have is that you can't have a full desktop browser. It's always the mobile browser, and there's always concessions, and it just, certain things don't work right on a mobile browser, even if it's got a big screen and all the rest of it, and you're running in desktop mode or whatever, it just doesn't lend itself to that. Even if I have an external Bluetooth keyboard and a mouse and like the whole thing, DeX, like, so, Samsung has DeX where it kind of gives you the desktop experience. All that works really great until I start getting into trying to do something with a website, and the browser just doesn't let me. It doesn't have developer tools and like all the stuff I kind of need to do. Whereas this, fits exactly into that same space and does all those things because it's a real computer. And so, I mean, I don't know. At some point, maybe regular tablets or ARM tablets will be this usable. But for me, this has been a sort of a transformational thing. The other thing that I've sort of been able to do is play around with Wayland, which is something, because all of my computers are NVIDIA, and I've never really had an opportunity outside of a virtual machine to kind of like play with Wayland. And the nice thing is, because of all of the gesture support and the, all that sort of stuff, and because GNOME has such a mature sort of Wayland session and all that, like, it's actually worked really well. And I thought for sure there would be shortcomings that would keep me from being able to use it. But honestly, I really haven't found any problems. I know there's some software that doesn't really support it very well, or maybe outside of GNOME it isn't as great. I know I'm not a Plasma user, but apparently it's gotten better. But yeah, on Fedora with GNOME, Wayland is pretty darn good.
Now, has anybody been using Wayland and run into any problems or like noticed a difference at all?
Has anyone been running it at all?
I'm not even sure if I'm running it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone. That's the thing. It's really it's popular to talk about right now. I think a lot of people are focused on it, but I think in general, most people, by and large, are still using the next session. Because unless you're on GNOME or Plasma, that's really the only two that are supporting it right now. So,
and the Raspberry Pi.
oh really?
Pi
Have you
OS,
used it?
yeah. Pi OS is Wayland by default.
Oh, okay. Have you used it? I mean, with Wayland, I know you've used Pi OS, but I didn't. Have you used Wayland?
Well, you have on Pi OS, you have to opt out not to use Wayland.
I think we're going to start to see that more and more. I mean, Mint just announced that they think by, I think it was 2026, maybe late 2025, that Cinnamon would be, if not default to, at least fully support Wayland. I mean, they already have a kind of an alpha build of it, which apparently is not very good. But you got to start somewhere.
Well, the real issue with Wayland and is your remote desktop stuff.
Yeah.
And I understand that there are remote desktop Wayland stuff, but it's just not as refined as the X-based stuff, because the X-based stuff is, you know, your grandfather's Buick.
This is true. Plus, it's so much easier on X because there's none of the structure of the sort of security and being cordoned off, and X basically is just wide open, and so a remote session supporting that, you just have none of those guardrails or roadblocks, I guess. So I think with portals, and they've done a lot of things around being able to add back functionality that has been deemed missing. So the combination of either pushing stuff back to the window manager or desktop environment, as well as portals, seems to be kind of getting us through some of that. So I think they'll get there. But it's just,
well, I think one of the things that might get them there is just to do a full RDP stack using the Windows protocols.
When you use remote desktop, what do you use now? Do you use RDP or RDC or?
Well, I haven't really worked with.
X?
I haven't done a lot of remote desktop stuff right now.
Hmm.
Actually, what I've been looking into is, and here's something that might be a curveball, but if anyone did a spice configuration for Wayland, that would be interesting. Because Spice supports all of the bells and whistles of X2Go in a OS neutral way. Unfortunately, it's only available usually through a VM interface.
Yeah, I was going to say that's Vert Manager. Using Spice's QEMU.
Vert Viewer is actually the key component.
What just happened? My monitor just broke.
Minix joined.
Oh, that explains it. I just can't see it anymore.
Oh, see, we said that before he actually joined voice. So
What's going on?
you broke Joe's monitor.
Did you figure out the recording deal? I guess it says it's recording. So that's good. Did you do the whole?
Yeah, I just hit record. No, I did not.
Did you do the?
Nope.
Make sure everybody follows me. So you're not the center of attention.
Actually,
Of course I'm the center of attention. No, I did switch it to the grid.
Okay.
You're not my supervisor.
But in the settings, did you go to moderator? Everybody follows me or whatever.
No.
I told you that.
Saying that. You just told me I had to set it to grid.
Look in the thing. What under settings? Under Jitsi settings.
Okay.
Yeah. What are we talking on? Matrix settings, and then under do you have like moderator or admin or something?
Okay, now it's set. Everyone follows me.
Okay, so now. All right. So you've been the center of attention this whole time.
Yeah.
That's all right, though.
well, and Honky also asked if he would advertise the 24-hour stream, and Joe's not having it.
What 24-hour stream? New Year's?
Yeah, it's getting that time again.
Is it really? Oh, yeah.
It's
already November.
Offered to, do that for him. He just had to record something for me.
I already have something recorded. I just got to find it. Either that, you can just say, "Hey, check out hbr.com or hackerpublicradio.org, hackerpublicradio.org.
Check out what? You said like 10 different things there.
Actually, what we need is a.
Put it in the show notes.
No, we need a time zone list based on.
I'm throwing the time zone away.
Eastern Daylight.
Time zone's going away.
Yeah, they got rid of that last year, I think. No more time
I don't
zones.
believe you.
Just
Yeah.
It's not going to be on the show note list anymore. I'm getting rid of it. That way it can't interrupt people in the middle of conversation. The yelling Happy New Year. Just get rid of it.
Sounds good. What show is this? 2 what?
232.
All right.
It's just me or Morton, so he looked like an elf, like a Smurf.
Yeah, he's kind of blue.
He's kind of blue.
Yeah, he's got a blue light in front of him.
No, it's his lap. It's the camera on his laptop.
He's been taking colloidal silver.
Yeah, he's like. Remember that man that was a
I've been trying to cure myself of lycanthropy.
Y'all remember that Smurf man that would take colloidal silver?
Yes.
There's been a lot of people who've done that,
He died.
and they turn blue.
What am I doing?
No idea. What are you doing?
There's a family that really takes that silver to the extreme, and they're like famous for it.
Who's
and like
it?
I don't remember.
Jackie?
Yeah, it's Jackie.
Oh,
Do you remember those nuts whenever COVID first came out that were like, drink bleach? They live in the town just north of me.
It kills
You mean
COVID
Trump?
and HIV and everything else.
Yeah. They were telling people, drink little bits of bleach.
I bet mercury and lead does too.
Well, sure, it kills you quicker than anything else.
I was going to say, bullet will do it too. Cure it right up.
Or a la Chicago, some people just can't hold their cyanide.
Was that a Tylenol reference?
No, that's a Chicago reference.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was gonna say, man, you like musicals too?
Yeah, like them. Although I was raised on South Pacific and the old stuff.
That doesn't bother me. It's not Christmas until I watch White Christmas. I grew up on the whole black and white thing. I was sick as a kid, so me and my grandfather watched them a lot.
My grandfather had this strange need to sort of archive everything. So that was just when Turner Classic Movies came out. And I swear he would record like every movie that they played. And I'm like, Pap, you realize like they're going to play them again, right? He's like, no, I need to have this one. This is a really important. And he made sure I watched, I don't know how many hundreds of old movies I watched as a kid. And, but that was our time together. He wasn't able to get around very much. So that was his, but yeah, he just like wall of VCR tapes. And he never watched them again. That was the funny part. I'm like, Pop, why do you record them if you're never going to watch them? Well, hey, I might. It's possible. Okay.
My parents are the same way, man. They have to have all these certain movies, even though they have a DVR. They have to have all these old movies, like classics, and especially the whole John Wayne collection on DVD.
Oh, nice.
So they have it on VHS, and then they have them on DVD in the same cabinet.
Excellent.
Did anybody else watch Sunday mornings? If I could get out of going to church, they always had the best, like they had the spaghetti westerns or the, just all of those like old John Wayne movies. And just, yeah. So like I either went to church with my mom and missed it, or I stayed home with my dad and watched it.
You know what's funny is I always remember when, because I had to go to church. My father was a preacher. So.
Was he really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
He still technically preaches.
Wow. So was he real strict when you were growing up?
No. Not really.
No, he didn't.
No. Well, he was. So when I was growing up, he was mostly an evangelist. He taught a class about how to talk to other people about religion, stuff like that. But he taught a 2-week class in several places, and he would preach. And when he was going around to these different churches teaching the class, he would preach while he's there. And when he was trying to get supporters for the class, he would go around from church to church and preach. And then after doing that for a while, he wound up becoming a preacher. When was I still living at the house when he became the full-time preacher? I don't think I was. I probably left the house, so I was probably about 21 or so when he became a full-time preacher at the church around here. And then he started preaching on Martha's Vineyard. He would preach at one church in the morning and then do a Sunday evening service on Martha's Vineyard. And now he's still technically the full-time preacher for the Martha's Vineyard church, but he does the service now when he's during the summers. He's up here, so I think he goes there for he'll go out to Martha's Vineyard on Sundays. But during the winter time, I think he's doing it via Zoom.
So what did he think about teenage honky smoking doobies in the bathroom and listening to heavy metal music?
He didn't. The heavy metal music he knew about it because that was played pretty loud. But he didn't know any about any of the other stuff.
Well, but
listen, I did a very good job of hiding any of that stuff. All right.
Really?
Yeah, probably did a pretty good job. But see, growing up, I had an older brother. My older brother would get all of the attention with stuff like that because he would do it like out in the public and just be like defiant about it, while I was the guy sneaking all that shit in the background. He was my smoke screen.
So he took the heat off of you.
Yes.
Oh, that's good.
Yep. Yeah, but in the mornings before church, we would. I always remembered the old Hanna-Barbera cartoons. So that's how I saw all of the.
That was a Saturday morning, man.
No,
Saturday
morning for me was all the regular Saturday morning stuff.
Well, there was that, and then you moved to USA, the channel USA, and you watched all the Hanna-Barbera. And that started at like noon. So then you could catch your morning news stuff, the current on Saturday morning, and then you would move over at noon to USA.
So how long do you think
That's
Saturday morning?
No, that's for those rich folks that had cable as kids.
That's true too. Mostly when I was younger, I just had one of those giant. I had a TV antenna and that giant dial that you can only click.
Yep.
Yeah, that thing. You gotta love the fact that when you turn that thing, it was a hard push. Click.
I got 5 channels. I had the 3 networks and 2 UHF. That was it.
Oh, do you remember that dial that was on the back of the dial so that you could fine tune?
Oh,
so
yeah.
That you could actually
On
see
UHF.
things?
Yep.
Now, my dad had his big box projector TV that it was like I couldn't reach my arms around it as a kid. That was my dad's thing, and then he put a little TV in the kitchen for my mom, and this sucker was like your laptop right there. You're using your netbook. It was as big as the screen. And so I would get home because I worked for the church.
Really?
I did puppetry and I did the TV.
Man, what? You guys had some weird
You're
upbringings.
forgetting that I lived with my grandpa for quite a while, and my grandpa was a Lutheran minister.
Really? What the fuck?
Yeah, and we did all the work for setting everything up every week. So he'd be there practicing his sermon, and me and my grandma would be getting the handouts ready, and potentially getting the kitchen ready so that we could do like a massive meal for everybody in the church and things like that. And that was like every week we did that. So yeah.
We had cleaning the church was like a something that like each family would take turns doing. So I remember cleaning the church many times. That and I was actually paid for a while to mow the lawn at the church building, and they had a riding lawnmower, so that was cool. The only time I've ever used a riding lawnmower, and I actually got it stuck in between two trees once. That was fun.
Man, that whole growing up with the church is so foreign to me because like I didn't even go to church or anything. And my family didn't or anything. You know, it's very interesting to me, like what that was like growing up. I guess it probably wasn't much different than just regular childhood. It just seems like when I think about kids growing up in the church, I think about like the Branch Davidians and stuff like that. I guess I don't realize how, especially when we were growing up, how much religion was a part of everybody's life. Well,
this is the weird one. I didn't go with my family to church. I went to a completely different church.
Really?
My mother was Episcopalian, but then discovered Southern Baptist. And those people are crazy.
So is that when you switched churches or what?
I started going with my friend to their Methodist church. And that's where I would help out because they got there early. They were like a family of like 14.
Whoa.
So they would really get in, and they would just give me a ride, and then I just ended up doing the puppeteering because they needed some teenagers that could do the puppetry and all that. And then when we turned 15, we could work on the cameras because they did the live broadcast on the public broadcasting channel.
Really? So you were on TV?
No, I was running the cameras and doing audio.
And they would have like a church service for the public broadcasting on Sundays or something?
Yep. It was a lot. It was there was a 15-minute delay.
Wasn't that Mr. Rogers? Wasn't he a minister too?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. So I grew up in southwestern Pennsylvania, and I mean, most of the Northeast is Catholic or, some religion like that. And, so yeah, but it was everybody, the whole town, with very few exceptions, were all the same religion, because they were all immigrants from the same areas. That was a big part of it. Like most of the immigrants to where I grew up were Eastern European. So, and most of Eastern Europe were, either Orthodox or, Roman Catholic.
Like Pennsylvania, there's a lot of like Mennonites and stuff up there too, right?
Well, part of it, yeah, but everybody. So the idea, like you're saying, of the fabric of the community, like even if people didn't go to church, they were still of that religion and had gone through sort of the rites of passage and all of that. So it wasn't uncommon for kids to go with their parents, and then as they got older, they stopped going. So I would say my generation, most of us kind of bailed on it. My grandfather tried really hard to get me to stay and be part of but he was not only really devout going to church, but he was also part of the Knights of Columbus, which is a religious organization, and sort of a tie-in to being a soldier, and like there's all sort of like ties there, but he was always volunteering and doing stuff with them, and it was sort of like missionary work. And but yeah, I went through the First Holy Communion and confirmation and sort of all of those steps, and then but it was never like, I mean, it didn't feel weird in it. It was just part of life. Like you just sort of went.
That's just how you grew up. Like,
yeah, I mean, it was, but I don't think it changed anyone. Like, I wouldn't say that the people acted any differently. And actually, I had a problem with religion at a pretty young age where I just felt like there was so much hypocrisy. It wasn't the religion itself. It was the people that I was sitting next to.
Yeah.
That all week long, they would be complete jerks to everyone. And then they would come into church and sit there and sing and profess to be, Christian.
No.
But their behavior was so contrary to that, and I would sit there as like an 8-year-old going, "That guy's a complete jerk." Like, what's he doing here?
The elitism within the church itself. I mean, there was the people in the church that decided that some people in the church were better than others. So if you weren't a part of a certain clique, then you weren't as good as everybody else, and everybody talked smack about you. But also, you're talking about a community where everybody was the exact same denomination. But like me, the town I really went to church in a lot, there was all of 300 people in that town, and there were still 4 different churches, and they were all different denominations. And Jackie's been to that town. She's seen how small that town is. You blink while you're driving down the highway, and it's not there. And 4 churches.
So what happened to Mordency? He grew up like a straight up Satanist or something. He looks evil. He's got a night thieving shirt on. He's like glowing blue. And
the thing that I didn't like about the churches though was the who got to sit where, and it was really bad in the Southern Baptist, is how they did their tithe. And it was whoever gave certain money got to sit in certain pews, and that just pissed me off. And then they would treat other people differently because they weren't in the same income bracket.
See, I never ran into any of that stuff because all the churches I've been to were ours is it's just non-denominational. So it was like the Church of Christ. So like up here is the Cape Cod Church of Christ, and down in was it Bridgewater Church of Christ down in Jersey, and it's not one of the big name ones. But it was usually a small enough groups too, where there wasn't a lot of people there, so there wasn't a lot of cliques and groups. At least it didn't feel the same as what you're talking about. And then there was no like hierarchy by way of who pays more type of a deal. There's no shaming of people to give money. I mean, obviously they ask because they got to pay the bills, but beyond that, there wasn't much shaming. So as far as the churches go, I had no problem with the church. It's just the whole idea of church that I didn't like. I don't like the idea of organized religion. Growing up, I looked at church the same way I looked at school, somewhere I had to go where I'd rather be doing other shit. And then as I got older, I kind of just slipped into a point where I don't believe that there's any sort of magic special being out there. So I'm just kind of like, no. I would love to believe that there's some special magic being out there who's keeping an eye on all this shit, but the more you actually look at everything, it's kind of like no, that it can't be. It's no.
My mother was a good church-going woman. For her hour and her buck a week, she was able to ride to get the moral high ground on the heathens who didn't go to church. The rest of her family.
Oh, nice.
So that's why she went, so that she could be judgmental.
Also, they had a very learned minister. This was Protestant Congregationalist, which is generic Protestant church. Actually, it was the official church of Massachusetts, I believe, back in the day. But he was a very learned guy, and his sermons would go over everybody's head. But nobody ever made him aware that his preaching was sailing out over the congregation and leaving the building. It wasn't touching any of the people in the pews, because nobody could give him a clue that he was missing it by this much. because that would be insulting the preacher. You just sat there and listened to the stuff go over your head, and away you go. He had asked. I didn't go many times. I stopped going to church school because I was beaten up every time I left the church. I got out onto the church grounds. Somebody was using me as a punching bag. I really wish I'd gone one more time with an appropriate accessory to. I might have even been able to get the jawbone of a cow, never mind the jawbone of an ass, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
To apply some old-fashioned fire and brimstone to my opponent, but probably just as well kept me out of jail.
So did your mom's attitude involved with the church? Is that what kind of turned you off from going, or?
Well, yes. Also, my parents were. My dad was anti-religion because he was fighting with my religious mother, who was using the mantle of the good church-going woman and all of that. And their marriage was more of a knife fight. Also, my mother had very strict rules about gift giving. If she gave you a gift at Christmas, you had to give her a gift, because it was like there was so much bookkeeping with it. The tree had to go up on this day. It had to come down on this day. I suffered from clinical depression, and when I was depressed on Christmas, I was ruining her Christmas. Christmas was her holiday. Her birthday was January 6th, so you not only had to get her a Christmas present, but you had to get her a birthday present. And this was mandatory, even if you were broke, out of work, and the weather was rotten, so you didn't want to travel on public transportation. You had to come up to scratch. Also, all gifts did not have strings. They had hawsers on them big enough to anchor to Queen Mary, because you couldn't get. She would give board games, and we would spend the next several years shuffling those games around, stacking them up in our room, because you couldn't get rid of them. They were Christmas gifts, or they were birthday gifts, or they were whatever. And by the time I got done, my faith was pretty damaged.
Now, what happens if you don't give her a gift? You suffer her wrath?
Oh yeah, I missed one Christmas.
He got the chunkla, man. He got the chunkla.
I missed one Christmas, and she said, "Where is my gifts from last year? Tell me, where's all the things I gave you last Christmas?"
Really?
Yeah, she wanted to know exactly where they had gone.
So she wasn't the most subtle person or tactful. Sounds like
a very mean, narcissistic. I mean, she was under
My
the.
answer every time would have been the pawn shop. Thank you.
The Christmas, I went to a friend, and on that Christmas weekend, and she got some junk together, and we were able to give my mother a Christmas gift. Also, she never understood why my mother never understood why she got a cactus on her birthday.
What was that for? For her to sit on?
I should wish. But again, speaking of that, my dad was an alcoholic and my mother was a codependent. And what that meant to me was, or to the family, was that we did not have God, we had house gods, like the ancient Romans.
Oh, okay.
The mother and father were the gods of the house, and you had to obey them explicitly because they were your parents, and there was no, to err is human, to forgive damned unlikely. And they had their righteous position, which you couldn't threaten in any way by thinking for yourself or doing anything that they didn't like. And if they didn't know what they didn't like at the moment, they could come at you from any direction.
You never knew. It kept you on your toes.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was Ashby's like stability, and our household had the stability of your average running cement mixer.
Of a three-legged chair.
Yeah, well, the deal was when I went to adult children's of alcoholics, I realized there's a step 0. In order to do the 12 steps, you have to have an independent identity of yourself in such that you can actually go up the rest of them. There's a step 0. My folks were very careful to carve me into a useful tool, but independence and thinking of yourself as an individual were surplus to their needs, and therefore trashed pretty hard.
Did any of that change as you got older?
Yeah, it changed when my mother died.
Yeah, that's a change.
That also interesting as far as church and everything. When my relatives passed away as they aged, my mother made it quite clear that her brothers, sisters, and father and mother were her family up in Maine. They were not my family. I was her. So we had no right to mourn any of the kin that was part of her nuclear family. Of course, since anyone born in Maine was her family, they were not ours. Sorry about that. We were hauled around as baggage. We were not allowed to mourn for our grandmother or uncles, aunts, what have you. They were her family. Of course, I followed my mother's wishes in that practice. Since she was born in Maine, once she was in the ground, I haven't visited that grave at all. Nor have I even put her date of death on it, as far as I can remember. But that's what my mother wanted. She didn't want us to mourn anyone who was born in Maine. That was part of her family, and I wasn't part of it.
Well, it
All
sounds like a pretty crummy way to grow up, I would think.
well, if it wasn't for actually the main farm, and even my grandpa down in West Virginia, they saved my sanity because after going through something that roughly equaled something out of 12 o'clock high, flak and all, trips to Maine, 4 hours of my folks knife fighting in the front seat, going up to Maine where people actually welcomed me. I had a room that they actually liked me being in. You know, that sort of thing, that saved my sanity through into my teens until I stopped going to Maine or my grandmother died and we stopped traveling that way, or I was working or what have you. But if it wasn't for my grandparents, I wouldn't have had a family worth the name. Grandparents, uncle, aunt, all of those people that I wasn't supposed to mourn were treating me better than my mother and father, who were treating me as you know, house staff and as a place to dump their shit. By the way, I am still de-Christmasing the house, getting rid of the Christmas chutkas and stuff that my mother put together, because Christmas is just getting rid of all of the signs of the official Christmas has been a great part of my recovering the house. I mean, I know about Christmas, I know what it's supposed to be, and I know what I was raised in. And all the holidays were not like any holiday that you'd know about, except perhaps Tet, if you recall the Vietnam War. There were major offensives between my parents. But then again, vacations and weekends and anything could be turned into a meeting engagement. And that's how come people of true faith, I am impressed by Lovecraft. That's you can pass that on to Janelle, because I grew up with so much counterfeit.
That's that would turn anybody off, I think. Go through that as a child.
Well, I have not had a formal religious background, but I've found good people, a lot of them on YouTube, by their actions and by the way they behave, keeping faith, and a lot. But I haven't touched formal religion with a 10-foot pole in many years.
What about you, Morton? How did you grow up to be such a deviant?
Deviant?
Yeah.
He seems pretty well rounded to me. I don't know.
Actually, Morton C. Takes his blessing straight from the jar. AEW.
L!
And just like Joe and maybe Honky, we haven't heard from Ms. Honky. But yeah, there is a lot more blessings than somebody sprinkling holy water.
What were you saying, Mordency? Yeah. Do you have that kind of?
I've had my ups and downs. I've had my ups and downs. So I had 4 younger brothers, and I was literally not allowed to do anything ever growing up.
Was it your parents that were strict on you, or?
Yeah. Like I didn't get to go to. So we have the Columbus Zoo here, and when I was in middle school, they opened a Wyandotte Lake, so a water park connected to the zoo. So my younger brothers all got to go there with. I was never allowed. I've never been there.
What was why did they treat you different?
I don't know. They saw Rosemary's Baby and The Exorcist when I was born, or when my mom was pregnant, close to when I was born, something like that. I think they were convinced I was evil.
They were right.
And then they wouldn't let me touch a computer because they saw War Games and Manhattan and the Manhattan Project.
Oh,
and they were convinced I was gonna
destroy
bring
the
World War III. Yeah, I was gonna destroy the world. I had one class in middle school where we programmed for 1 quarter on an Apple IIe, and I got into mischief in that class a little.
Did your parents go to church?
Yeah, we were forced to go to church until, I don't know, it's about the option, and I stopped going. And then when I got a little older, I started going non-denominational, laying hands and Holy Spirit type church. But after a couple years, in youth, kicked me out because Jesus told him that I was the rise of the Antichrist to power in the world, and I laughed at him, and he was like, "It's not funny." And it was years later when I found out that it was some girl that I was friends with in the youth group that was my age, who was cool. She was different than everybody else. Later, I found out because she was at church, so like 14 or 15. She's tripping on acid and drunk during church, and she's talking to demons, and she told them that I sent the demons to her. And yeah, kind of.
Obviously, it wasn't her fault for being drunk and high. It was yours for existing.
I am a white male, so I guess I can't defend myself. I was still pretty religious on my own, but did more searching and stuff. I also started working at 11, framing houses. If I wasn't in school, it was up at 5 in the morning and working until past dark every day. It was terrible.
Now, before you go on, I should remind everybody that you are an ordained minister too, right?
I am. So when I was in high school, I actually took actual classes through the mail and became ordained, and then got freaked out by it because I could the 3 things you can do is marry people, bury people, and perform religious counseling.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I don't know. How can I tell other people what to believe? And it kind of freaked me out. And the place I had got ordained when I was 18, you had to pay for it every year. So I didn't renew it after that. I let it lapse. I was kind of a little freaked out by it. But it studied different religions all over the board since I was about 13. And 13 religions. when I was 13, I demanded to get paid for my dad. So he paid me $2 an hour and made me pay rent, one of the utilities, buy my own food and clothes, all that other stuff. And so at that point, I became I became very independent, and nobody could tell me what to do because I had to pay for everything myself. It's not your decision anymore; it's mine. That didn't go over well with my parents, but as far as I'm concerned, I won.
Not under our
Not
roof.
under
Is that
our-
what they told you?
They told you. No, but when I turned 18, they kicked me out because I wasn't enrolled in college. But I wasn't enrolled in college because they wouldn't fill out the FAFSA forms, which means I couldn't get loans to go to college.
But you're still working
Yeah.
this whole time,
So
right?
when I was,
You're still working this whole time, right?
oh yeah, usually 2 full-time jobs. Once I started driving at 16, I almost always had 2 full-time jobs.
If you were doing
Sometimes
your own taxes,
three.
then you need to have their information for FAFSA.
No, you need your parents' tax information for FAFSA until you're
Not
26.
If you
I never needed it, and I was applying for FAFSA in my early 20s. And that's because I'd been living on my own since I was 17. So, yeah, Jackie had said that if you've been living on your own for like 2 years, then you don't have to worry about it. Your parents'
Okay,
information.
well, living on my own at 18 did not afford me to do anything but work.
Right.
Continually had roommates who didn't pay their share of the bills, multiple roommates where everything was in my name. So I was stuck with everything when things didn't go well. It was
and
all my
that's the reason why I
responsibility.
lived in a studio apartment. There was a hole in the wall because I didn't want to have to deal with roommates ever again.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, pretty independent. Somebody I went to school with, he had 2 older brothers. He's actually went to the. I was going with him to the crazy church. He's actually part of the Christians that sneak into China and distribute Bibles.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it
But
a
his
Pentecostal church?
Pentecostal church? Or...
the one we were at was a non-denominational church. Just It was called Faith Christian Center. But he had 2 older brothers, and the oldest one was into metal and alternative rock, and so he got me into Ozzy and Judas Priest and Black Sabbath and the and Violent Femmes and a bunch of other stuff. Like when I was 12 or 13. And so when I started getting money from work, I just had a huge music collection. Was into early Metallica and Slayer and punk rock and hardcore all the way back. What that'd be around 83, 85.
No Christian music.
No, and some Christian music.
Really? Amy Grant?
Just
Yeah,
pretty.
Just pretty.
No. What was the
You
one?
were
I think
doing
the one
Thrice, weren't you?
Carmen. I think his name's Carmen. He did some really cool songs. And as part of a church retreat, we got to see him play live, and it was an outdoor concert, and there was a huge hill going up, and it just echoed. It sounded biblical.
Now, was that your first
The way
concert?
Let me see. Yeah, that probably I wouldn't even consider it a concert, but yeah, that was probably my first concert, and then my second one would have been Megadeth and Dio.
What a big difference that is.
Oh yeah. After that, it was all the tamest music that I go see is some nerdcore and They Might Be Giants. everything else is, I get some rockabilly. I've gone to some rockabilly shows too, but no, most of it is Guar and amped up above that.
How was They Might Be Giants live?
They are awesome.
Are they?
The one time they played 2 days in a row because they sold out, and I had tickets to both shows, and they played completely different set both days.
That's awesome.
That's
yeah,
fan
it was.
service
It's
right
amazing.
there.
And then
Constantinople.
because it's Istanbul,
See, I was
not
thinking
Constantinople.
meet James Ensor, Belgium's famous painter. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
Pick
Dig him up
and
and shake his hand.
Triangle Man.
Hate the man.
I was just watching Jeopardy a few
I
weeks
love
ago,
TMNT.
and there was the was about the 11th president who didn't get reelected and did something, and I was like, John K. Polk, 11th president.
Yeah. Yeah, they ended up doing a lot of kids music. So
There were three: the ABCs, the 1, 2, 3s, and something about science.
yeah, they're excellent.
Yeah. I was actually a super secret, don't tell anybody member. So I've got challenge coins and special LP pressings and T-shirts and all sorts of stuff. And I would get a free movie ticket when they were in town as part of the membership. The membership definitely covered all the stuff they sent,
Cool.
including the tickets. But yeah, it was good.
Nice.
There's a few bands I listen to that all my metalhead friends make fun of me for. Some classical, some new age, some jazz. But I don't care because I like good music.
Yep, that is true.
And they like metal because it's metal, even when it's garbage.
They tried to music shame you.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
And I was just proud of my son listening to Smashing Pumpkins and picking Smashing Pumpkins last week. I told him to pick the music. He was DJing. I needed metal. I needed rock.
It wasn't
And
the
he-
Wiggles.
Well, we were driving and traffic was a zoo, and I was already tired, and so he decided we were listening to Smashing Pumpkins and Korn and 9 Inch Nails.
There you go.
Who is this,
Korn. I've
JoJo?
listened to Korn
Yeah,
forever.
JoJo's my DJ, man.
Oh.
He
Yeah.
doesn't care as long as it's got a good beat.
There you go.
Yeah.
I
don't
mind new metal. I mean,
Well, I mean,
it's not
he
my
grew up-
favorite, but
He grew up listening to alternative and goth with me, and then Joe's got his classic rock, and
Bad
I mean,
Rock.
that's me.
And he's been listening to like BMB Nation or Stabbing Westward and stuff like that.
Stabbing Westward, nice. Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, that was my first concert that I bought my own tickets to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, what was your first concert, any of y'all, for your first concert that you bought your own tickets to?
Well,
Steve Miller.
my
Willie
my
Nelson.
very first concert was Ray Stevens in Branson, Missouri, with my grandparents. I remember
Nice.
that with the squirrel that goes to the church and the streak and all that. But I think my first concert I bought my own tickets to was Megadeth, maybe.
Nice.
And it was outdoors, but it was like it's still the loudest concert I've ever been to. Even being outdoors, I was like, I thought that my hearing was not going to come back. I was genuinely wanting to tell my grandma to take me to the hospital afterwards because I couldn't hear anything because it was so loud. And it was somebody else was with Megadeth too. I think Testament or somebody, but
There you go.
it was like, man, it was, and after that, I was addicted. I was like, this is awesome. Seeing people get their faces smashed in the pit and shit like that. It's just so fun, you know. What about y'all?
Exodus.
Exodus?
Oh, really?
Nice. Has anybody been to an Ozfest?
Not
No,
to the Warped
I never
Tour,
did.
man.
Two.
Two?
Really?
Ozzy and Black Sabbath. Two of them.
Yes, I would.
Well, technically three. The one was Ozzy didn't show up. He'd lost his voice.
Oh yeah.
And they didn't cancel the show. They kept playing because there was a bomb threat, and the crowd rioted.
Yeah, I loved Ozfest. We would wake up in the morning and basically just like get breakfast and just start drinking. We would drink the whole ride up to the place, and then we would go there, and then we would barely drink while we're at the event, just because it's too damn expensive to drink there. By that time, we were already pretty well tanked anyways. So
That was like
as long
Warped
as you
Tour.
weren't driving, you were drinking.
That was Warped Tour for us because the freaking drinks were stupid.
Yes. That there
we
was
we pre-gamed a little hard those days. You weren't with me, but
that there was a club in Providence, Rhode Island called Lupo's Heartbreak Hotel. They used to have all sorts of great fucking bands there, and it was cheap. It was like $20, and it was general admission. So you just you pay $20. You get like tickets on that day. Just show up and get them and go in there. And they had everything from like who have I seen there? Fear Factory, Static X, Black Sabbath, not Black Sabbath. Jesus, I saw Anthrax twice there. Biohazard, Soulfly, Sepultura. Jesus.
I've seen Sepultura.
if you were
That
in
was a
El
good
Paso,
show.
we would have found you, Honky. We would have found you probably at Dito or the Peanut Gallery.
Yeah. The Lupo's and Lupo's had a little sister club called the Met Cafe right behind it. That who did I see? I don't know. I saw a couple bands over there too.
I was just so happy when Korn came through, man.
I saw Korn a couple. See, I never was really a Korn fan, but I saw them a couple of times because they were always touring with a lot of the other bands that I liked. Like I
this
saw
is when Michael Peachy came out.
I saw Bile open for Marilyn Manson, open for Guar.
Oh, hell yeah.
When Guar was bigger than Marilyn Manson.
Went up to Lewiston, Maine, saw Fear Factory, Monster Magnet, and Rob Zombie.
I didn't get to go to that.
I saw that show twice.
Concert, but
Yeah?
I did get to see them when they came for their after show for for their drinking and partying.
Nice.
Yeah, you go to a VIP strip club.
Yeah.
I've seen Pantera a lot just because they're from here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think I've seen Pantera.
Dimebag Darrell was shot here.
Yeah. He was shot there.
A couple miles that way.
Yeah, my dad didn't make it past what was his name? The Red Wine and the
UB40?
Beach Boys. Yeah, no, even the earlier one than that.
Oh, yeah. The original.
Neil Diamond. My dad did not make it past Neil Diamond and the Beach Boys. I was stuck listening to those everywhere we went as a kid.
Yeah. There could have been worse. Beach Boys can kind of wear thin after a while. I'll take some Neil over Beach Boys.
He had the same 3 tapes. Do you realize how long it takes to get across Texas to go visit family members?
You're just sitting there wishing that tape would break.
God.
That's when you take it out and be like, oh, look, I changed. Oh, no. Look.
Oh, no.
I don't know what happened.
I remember when my dad was able to afford his first halfway decent stereo system, like one of those old school like house stereo systems with the amplifier and the giant speakers. He must have worn out that CD for George Michael. I mean, seriously. Oh, it was horrible after a while.
That does sound pretty
My
bad.
mom did that with Amy Grant. Oh my God, I was so tired of that CD. I wanted to just break it or throw it off the freeway.
See, I feel like I got lucky because my parents listened to just nothing but classic rock and like southern rock and like so. Okay, so this is what never occurred to me. Like that music was contemporary with me growing up. Like most of that music was, from the 70s and 80s, and so when I listen to it today and they say it's oldies, like it still doesn't register to me that like classic rock. Like it wasn't called classic rock when I listened to it. So it's a little insulting in some ways. I grew up on that music. I still enjoy it today. I've heard all those songs 1,000 times, and But I listen to everything. The only music I truly cannot jive with is country. I try.
I'm with you.
There's
I can do country.
there's
Except for
classic.
Johnny
Jones.
Cash.
Exactly. There's classic country that I can, like Wayland Jennings, like the old stuff. I actually enjoy because it came from a place, right? It was Appalachia, or it was like those types of groups there was so much like Americana, almost like bluegrassy kind of stuff.
Oh, like the Sons of the Pioneers?
Well, no, I mean, just classic country had that sort of like, it's coming from a place, like it's telling a
Wayland,
story.
Willie and the Boys. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but like modern country just has that sort of, it's pop, and it's like goofy formulaic pop where they sing the same song over and over and over.
My
Like,
dog
you
was
know,
shot
you-
and I kicked your ass?
You know who started that, don't you? You know who destroyed country music?
who?
Garth Brooks.
Yeah.
That was what I was going to say, Garth.
Yeah. After
Well,
that,
so
it
if
was
you-
never the same.
If you haven't heard it, Jeffrey Walker, I believe he was the guitarist in Carcass on Earache Records. He has a country album called "Welcome to Carcass Country," as in Country, and I think they're all covers of old the Western country songs, old country songs.
My
What about
parents
Johnny
wouldn't
Cash?
let me get a radio and actually have a channel until I was in middle school. And every time I got grounded, they took my radio. and that was when I started. And that's when I got to discover that there was more music than my dad's Beach Boys and Neil Diamond and Sons of the Pioneers and Amy Grant. I was like, holy shit, there's Michael Jackson. I was like, holy crap, this is awesome.
Oh, when I was
Yeah.
a kid, it was all about Michael Jackson and whatever Weird Al Yankovic was doing at the time too.
I still love Weird Al Yankovic.
You had Bad, but then you had I'm Fat too.
Bone Thugs and Harmony.
When I was younger, we used to record whatever the top countdown or the top 20 countdown or something like that. It used to be on, I think, Sundays on the radio, and we would just record it. We would listen to all of it. Whatever was popular at the time is what I used to listen to when I was younger. And then we threw in some They Might Be Giants and stuff, and I didn't get into metal until I didn't really get. I was younger when it was when alternative was really popular. So I started off with all the alternative stuff, and then which graduated more in towards the heavier metal. And I did a lot of the Green Day, Soundgarden, and stuff like that, and then just kind of graduated
Dr.
from there
Demento.
into things like White Zombie and Rob Zombie, and
Oh, dude, I wish I had a camera the day that I showed my mom Salt and Pepper.
Love it. Yeah.
I was listening to White Zombie when Make Them Die Slowly came out.
I
And
love
even my
Zombie.
metal were like, this is horrible. And I was like, they are going to be. And they were.
Oh,
That-
my mom. My mom had the freak out over Tool and Nine Inch Nails.
was that over the actual music or just all of the shit, the shitstorm around it? Back when they were the TV evangelists were trying to smash on metal, like it was some demon spawn or
Right.
whatever the hell. Because there was so much. There was so much of that. Exactly. There was so much of that.
Sensationalism.
Yes, like Marilyn, all the bashing on Marilyn Manson and stuff.
Panic.
And you know what? They did those artists a huge favor by doing that, because all it did was drive kids to want to see it more and more and more. It's authority doesn't like this. Awesome.
Did you know? Did you know that was Al Gore's wife?
Yep,
Yes.
Tipper Gore.
My mom.
That was all over.
I'm the black sheep, and my mom freaked out over half a dozen things. She couldn't believe I wanted to watch
Black
The Crow.
Black Sheep was so awesome. That was the best CD ever. My friend and I listened to that and we were way too young to be listening to those songs, but
Dude, I remember Adidas, and we were singing Adidas in freaking middle school.
Adidas.
you know what? I don't know. I just have to say this. There was musicianship. So even if you didn't like metal or country or any of those other things, everybody was playing an instrument and like making real music. And I always respected, even if I didn't like it, like I respected the fact that these people took the time to learn. I had friends who were musicians. I never really played any instruments, but I respected the fact that they put so much effort. I mean, these are people who are lazy at everything else in the world, but for some reason they're fixated. They're so fascinated with playing guitar or whatever it is they were doing, and a lot of them got pretty good at it. And then, but that's such a hard thing, like to express beyond a certain level. It's like playing sports in high school. What are the odds you're going to continue to play sports into adulthood? Like, or try to make a living or do something, meaningful with it other than just pastime or an interest. And so I had so many musicians friends where I was just like, you're as good as anybody I hear on the radio, and like, why don't you do something with it? And yeah, it's music, something that is, I think, shared by everyone in a lot of ways, but the people who actually make it, it's amazing how fortunate they are, like they're in the right place at the right time. Or
Dude, I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, but watching what she's doing with her brand and herself, I mean, you gotta give her credit.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. It's some of I kind of listen to it when it pops up on the radio, but I don't go out of my way for it. But you still gotta respect the woman.
Yeah. All right. We gotta try to wrangle this one.
Have y'all talked about the movie yet?
No.
Movie? Good Lord. We started a little bit into this all deviated from I think I made some comment about Hanna-Barbera, watching Hanna-Barbera at the beginning of before I went
we might
to
as well
church,
change the name
and
of this
then we
to
went to
Christcast.
Churchland, and then I don't even remember where that came.
We were talking about things to watch on Sunday, and then it moved into other things that we did on Sunday, which happened to be church.
But how did that even happen? I mean, we were talking about
Eric was talking about
his
cartoons,
laptop.
Hanna-Barbera.
I know.
And you
was
watch
my fault.
Hanna-Barbera. Some people watched it on Sunday. Some people were watching it on Saturday.
What did you do?
Said,
All right,
I said the
Linux.
choice was either going to church with my mom
Linux.
or watching movies with my dad. Anyway, so yeah, there you go. Blame me.
All right, back to Linux.
All right. So before we get into the movie, which I think this is going to be a very rambling show, but that's all right. It's all good.
It's almost like a Blue Moon show.
It's almost like a Blue Moon show.
It was a good movie.
So, well, does anybody, before we go to the movie, Danny, was there anything computer-wise, tech-wise that you've done this week? Anything you want to share, so we can try to get like somewhere on the tech realm of things?
So I created a room in Matrix to talk about what we want to do with the VPS, and one of my suggestions was maybe the first container we might want to fire up is nginx proxy manager. That way, whatever services you want to play with or whatever, you'll already have a base to secure them and access them.
And I would like to document all this so other people can replicate it.
Yeah.
And I like the second
I had
Joe's
a suggestion too.
I like Joe's suggestion.
What was your suggestion, Joe?
Oh, an AI phone sex bot.
Oh yeah, this was Joe's suggestion. Which I don't know how to do that.
If we make money off of it, I am not opposed to that. Fund this project.
Right, I want the server to pay for itself, which is why I was suggesting that.
Oh, that is a good idea.
Have degenerates pay for it.
You'll have to set up an asterisk server first or something so we can call people.
No, you got to get it. You got to get some an AI voice set up first. Then you set up the asterisk server.
Oh, that's right.
You
we
gotta
talked
do
about
it
that
right.
too. Whose voice were we going to clone for that? Oh, Netminer's, right?
Sure.
And then he could be the AI chatbot.
Yes, I agree. Netminers.
Mm-hmm. He has the sultriest voice.
Yeah.
He would like that. I think people would enjoy that.
I think so too.
Yeah, but Lovecraft would get you guys more girls.
How so?
It's the accent, man.
Oh, okay. They enjoy the
Yeah,
the
but it's rarely women that pay for that type of thing.
Yeah.
So you just take his voice and we'll just up the octave on it.
Well, no, you do Lovecraft's voice with an AI with like the
Auto-tune?
anime games, like that kind of that he's introducing, and yeah.
There you go.
There's one idea.
Done.
So AI sex chat bot and nginx proxy manager. Anything else that y'all had in mind? Mordency? Anything?
A wiki, maybe a whiteboard, or something that has those features in it that we can discuss all the things that we want to do.
Yeah, that is
Email
a good
server?
idea.
Some
Well,
fuse mounts and set up the Plex there and just, have all of our stuff aggregated into that one location. No.
What I did think that it might be a good idea to at least clone what we use for the show, like a Jitsi server and a Mumble server, just in case. You never know.
Just in case
And
Minix dies.
do configuration stuff, put them in Git, and have them scriptable so they're orchestrated. And then we can all get $500,000 a year jobs.
There you go. That's all we need to do. But
I'm down with that last part there, that getting a $500,000 a year job. I'm down.
We
I'm
can
down.
run an instance of Git to keep track of everything in there, and that's really small.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, I just kind of wanted to start a discussion and get that, because I mean, Mortency already got it, so we might as well start using it. Don't want to let it.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting. I think there's a group Google account that you can. I don't know if it's free or if you have to purchase it. If we had a group Google that pointed to GitLabs, lugcastlabs.com, with individual users for lugcastlab.com, and then use that for our authentication. Authentication.
Okay, yeah.
So only people who are granted accounts can sign in.
I gotcha. But I don't know. I don't know if they have a group deal. Like, do they?
I don't know.
They used to. It'd be
Not free
Google
anymore.
Not free anymore.
Workspace something. I forget what it is. A big long name
Really?
for it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not free anymore. They even tried to take people off that were grandfathered and make them start paying for the group accounts, which is why Mintcast switched to using Nextcloud instead of Google, and then Google backed off from that and allowed people that had the accounts before to keep it.
Interesting.
So, Megan.
Oh yeah. So Megan is a movie about this woman who inherits her niece after her brother-in-law and her sister died in a car accident. And she is an AI, I guess, developer, programmer for a toy company, and she is working on like a Furby doll or something. It's like
supposed to be working on a Furby doll.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a cheaper alternative to this big seller they have. That's like a Furby that you interact with your iPad and stuff like that. But most of her attention and her group's her partner's attention are going towards a different toy, which is about a 3 foot tall, maybe 3.5 foot tall.
Adaptive AI.
Yeah, adaptive AI within a girl doll that can walk around and kind of and I looked. This came out before COVID, and so it came out right. It was made before COVID, so they were able to put it out right before then, before everything got locked down. So that means it was also before the advent of the whole Chat GPT revolution and stuff that came about afterwards. So they actually kind of were ahead of all that as far as this movie goes, and the whole AI revolution. But anyway, so they were creating this doll, and its name is Megan, but with a 3 instead of an E. Was there a reason for that? Or?
Third gen.
Third gen. Okay. So M is what? M
doesn't matter.
third gen. Okay. And so
I think it was Model 3.
Oh, okay, generation or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So anyway, so they're working on this doll, and she brings it home to kind of keep working on it, and she shows it to her niece, and her niece becomes attached to it, and because it's very lifelike, and it learns as it goes through life and interacts with people and stuff like that. And the kind of point of the movie is there was a few things I noticed. In the beginning, it was how attached everybody is to their devices and the internet. They made this kind of a big point of like, and that's kind of the whole theme of Megan too, how she just kind of passed off her niece growing up to be raised by this android, and the therapist even brought it up, how tablets are becoming babysitters for kids now, like in the car and stuff, and that was kind of a central theme, is how much we're dependent on technology, not only ourselves but to raise our kids and stuff. So, and I think Megan starts to go haywire. I'm not going to go through the whole movie, but as you can probably imagine, even if you haven't seen it, something terribly wrong goes on, and Megan starts learning and going against her programming, kind of, because she's self-teaching, or however you would say it.
I wouldn't say that she was going against her programming. She was enhancing her primary directives.
Right, and she never, from what I understand, she never had a directive that said you cannot harm other people.
She rushed turning it on and testing it without putting everything in place.
The directives were protect the little girl and protect her both emotionally and physically. That was the directives.
Wasn't that it? And Isaac Asimov's had like the robot codes,
the three
or
codes, yeah, the three laws.
One of them was you don't harm people or harm humans or something like. Anyway, obviously Megan didn't have this, and like Morrissey said, she kind of was rushing it out there. She was under pressure from her boss to get it to market and stuff. So, of course, shit goes wrong, and Megan goes on a warpath, starts killing people and stuff like that, and which is not really a spoiler. I think you can already figure that out.
Right.
But I think more importantly than the actual plot and what goes on in the movie is kind of like the social commentary and things like that I think it did a good job with, for being what I thought would just be a regular, popcorn, pop-sci movie, and which it was, but it still had a lot to say about, about how dependent we are on technology, and there's still value in human-to-human interaction, and there's things that we miss when we pass tablets to our kids to raise them, or when we have a Megan android to do our parenting for us and stuff like that. And I think it did a good job with that. I watched the unrated version. This is the first time I've seen it, and so I don't really know what was cut from the PG-13 version. I can kind of imagine like there's a sword scene where Megan has a sword and cuts this guy's neck and stuff, and so probably some of the gore was cut out of the PG-13 version. But
I think it would have been the neighbor, that whole scene where
she catches her in the shed.
Yeah, and like her, the gore factor for how her face and all that stuff. So
yeah,
that was probably. I mean, yes, and it wasn't a sword. It acted like a sword, but it was the from a paper cutter.
Paper cutter.
That's right.
That big heavy bar. And like the way they shot that was actually pretty cool, because you don't see her do it. it just the big
You see
spray
the
of blood.
spray, yeah.
Yeah.
And also tearing off that kid's ear. It's like, it's
Yeah.
pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
There was a little too much stretch in there for me.
Yeah,
Like, it
that's
would have took.
pretty-
It
Was
was
it
a little
really,
silly.
ears really
Like, it
stretched
got
that
way.
much?
It was like
Yeah.
that far out.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
Now, I really, really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was really good. There was just the one thing that I had the problem with, and it was in regards to two scenes when you put them together. The scene where that 13-year-old kid or whatever picks Megan up and runs off with her shows just how light the machine is. And then later on, when she's about to get, shut down, reprogrammed, she basically uses her body weight to lift a full-grown man by his neck
Yeah.
by pulling downward on a rope. So how does something that a 13-year-old can pick up and toss around like a rag doll and did not seem heavy have enough weight to pull downward on a rope and lift a person up? But
I didn't even notice that. Yeah.
She was tapped into the device, and she's hydraulic.
I thought maybe it was because she had her hand on the side of that contraption that was holding her and she was using that for leverage, but no, because she's got her other hand like pointed at the
they showed her with that. The end of that cable was like a handle or like something kind of that she then put into that
wrist
pole.
Restraint.
Right, so she plugged
did
it into the pole,
but she held it. She held it for a good 15 seconds with one hand, with him up in the air before she attached it to that bar.
I completely agree with you. The single greatest failure, I think, of this film was they could have made it how she was outsmarting them without without being tougher than they were. Like, that to me ruined the character, because she's supposed to be this little doll of not even, you're right, like, because that kid picked her up and carried her around, and all of a sudden she turns into the Hulk. It's like, this is stupid.
I hear that Megan dance was a thing for a little while before, it was the dance before the Wednesday dance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
anyway.
Kind of stupid.
So I think that was probably the biggest thing, and then that was probably the biggest complaint I had. I really enjoyed it. I, like you were saying, Minix, like I thought they, for being when it's unrated and it's a kind of a gory, little bit of a horror movie, I'm thinking, all right, they're probably going to go like over the top with this, and it's going to be more about the gore than it is the story. But no, I mean, I thought they did a good job of balancing it. And the story, the technology was just believable enough without being outlandish, And
you could see how the Megan character advanced, started out not being violent, and then there was something that happened that made it a little bit violent, and then there was a conversation that led it to the next level of violence, and then the next level, and then the learning to lie or avoid certain portions of conversations, and then just how it improved towards its own goals.
Well, and that all playing into the fact that the prime directive is to protect the girl. And so you're right, making those connections of, well, what does that mean to protect? Like the Rick and Morty episode about how the car is protecting Summer, and she's in the car, and and it's like people come up to the car and it keeps harming
Summer safe.
Yeah, keep Summer safe. Right? So it's a lot of that sort of logical leaps of, well, how do I do this? I mean, yes, maybe to a rational mind it would be, well, I have to try to prevent her from doing something harmful or protect her in some normal way. No, the logical leap is I have to eliminate this threat, like truly just eliminate it, and then it'll never be a problem again. And yeah, I thought that was a pretty good progression, and not too big a leap each time. Like it progressed in a way that seemed like it's figuring things out. So
I definitely appreciated the fact that it wasn't just like another Chucky.
Yeah.
It isn't just like a demonic doll. It's just that the programming was off, so now it just went around just killing everybody at random.
Yeah, I think there was definitely substance to it. It was kind of a contrast to what is that Harvey Keitel movie we saw where they're up in space?
Moon
Saturn 3.
Saturn 3. That's it.
Yeah, where that was just like a hulking robot, on a
Yeah.
rampage or whatever. But yeah, I give it a thumbs up for sure. What
Yeah.
about you guys?
I think it was
One, two,
well worth
three.
watching it.
Morrissey, we haven't heard from you. What'd you think about it? You gave it a thumbs up too. Lovecraft, what'd you think?
I haven't finished it, but yeah, I'm almost at the end. I have like 15 minutes left. Just after the paper cutter.
Oh, so she's already
Mhm.
gone wild. Yeah, Megan gone wild. So that's a
And we
1,
didn't even
2,
mention
3, 4,
Bruce.
5. Oh yeah. So there's another robot that she had built. Was it for her thesis or something? And,
Yeah, that was cool.
mhm. But that's who helped them in the end. Old Brucey. Lovecraft, are you with us? Might not
I
be
think he
there.
said he got a call from work.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
He's in Jitsi, but he's not in Mumble.
Well, that's 5 stars then. 5 of us at least. All right. So, should we pick the next movie?
Yes.
Let's see here.
I want you guys to pick something with technology and natural disasters. I got Natural Disaster Week coming up. I need some more ideas.
Natural Disaster Week? What is that?
So, Thanksgiving week at our house, everybody's home, and we watch natural disaster movies.
That's
So day after tomorrow.
So, well, starting Sunday.
tradition. That's the
Sharknado.
tradition.
Sharknado.
No,
1, 2, and
Sharknado
3.
is not a natural disaster movie.
Yes,
That
it
was-
is. It's
Well,
very
we did,
believable.
Okay, we've done Megafault. We've done Ice Twisters, which is based on technology. And then we've done Tornado Terror, New York City. We've done our new
Twister.
one, Twister. We do San Andreas Fault. We do The Tower kind of gets it too, just because we were running low on some new ones.
Do the
Category
viral
6.
plague ones count?
No.
Okay.
We did Category 6, Category 7, Stonehenge Apocalypse. And this year it's Into the Storm is our new one.
All right, well,
No
I
Blade
need
of
some new
Grass.
ideas.
we're about to find out. So let's see here. Dreamscape from 1984.
Ooh, that's a
That sounds
classic.
familiar.
Oh, you'll
Didn't we
remember
already
it when
watch
you
that?
when you look at it.
Oh, I know that one. That's the one where he turns into a cobra or something. And
Isn't
he
that
has
the
the
one where he's like
nunchucks.
walking into people's dreams or something?
Yeah, I think there's one guy that's real good at it, and thinks he's Bruce Lee, and he turns into a cobra. It's been forever since I've seen that movie.
A man who can enter and manipulate people's dreams is recruited by a government agency to help cure the President of the United States of his nightmares about nuclear war, but stumbles upon an assassination plot. Dreamscape, featuring Dennis Quaid with Max von Sydow, is streaming with subscription, blah, blah, blah. I'm reading it off of the streaming page. But so Dennis Quaid and Max von Sydow. Interesting.
I think when I was a kid, and I would go to my friend's house that had cable, this was on all the time, I believe. I think I really dug it when I was a kid. Now, I don't know if it still holds up. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I barely remember this movie because I watched it when I was like a little kid.
I have to
Yeah.
watch the trailer.
What
Where is it? There it is. Let me watch the trailer.
Something happened where I accidentally deleted what Honky wrote about the movie.
Wow,
I'm
Quaid
sitting
is
here
so young
staring
in
at it
this.
going, where the hell did it go?
Sorry, I was trying to keep track of all the crap we were talking about. Megan was last week's movie. What's a 3? My bad. Yeah. This week's movie.
It being a 1980s movie, I'm sure it'll have gratuitous nudity.
I hope so. Which, by the way, speaking of 1980s movie, I watched a very interesting movie on Tubi this past week called Sledgehammer. It's pretty low budget. I think it was this guy's first film. I wrote a review about it because I want to promote this on the show on the official Linux Lugcast Lemmy server, linux.minix.dev. There's a group community called Cult Films, and if you care about B movies and things like that, you should join this community. And you can see my review of Sledgehammer from 1983. That's all I'm going to say about it. Maybe that'll draw some people in.
Do you have your Birdemic review on there?
No, if you put Birdemic on there, you will be banned from the server. So that's all I have to say about that.
Banned by this time tomorrow, then.
That's the only rule of the server. No Birdemic.
Oh, how about Birdemic 2? That doesn't count, does it?
No.
Joe, you're pushing it.
If you don't like it, you can fucking leave.
Yeah, how about that? So, go check that out. Anyway, so yeah, this next movie is going to be Dreamscape. Is it streaming anywhere? Did you guys see? Or do I need to upload it? Oh, it's on Freebie.
Oh, is it?
Which is
nice.
That's Amazon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can check it out for free on Freebie.
So
go ahead.
I have never seen Birdemic or heard of it until just now, but Rotten Tomatoes really doesn't think too highly of it. 18%.
Dude, it is the greatest movie ever. You have to watch it, I am telling you.
Don't watch it by
Rift
yourself.
Tracks?
Minix absolutely loves it.
Have
Don't
you heard
watch
of
it.
Mystery
don't let
Science
him
Theater
lie to you.
3000?
It's one of Jackie's favorite movies.
Talking about Rotten Tomatoes.
I absolutely hate fucking Birdemic. 1, 2, doesn't matter. I will literally threaten his life if he makes me watch it ever again.
It's not even a real movie. It's just trash.
Oh, it is so horrible.
It is.
I've seen memes from it, so at least I know what it looks like because I've seen the meme of like the terrible special effects.
Go to Tubi and watch the Rift Tracks version of Birdemic. It is the best, the absolute best.
Rift Tracks.
Rift Tracks. Have you ever heard of Mystery Science Theater 3000?
Yeah.
Oh, it's basically the three of the guys who used to do Mystery Science Theater, like Mike Nelson and the two other ones, and they do it on a stage, and then they do Birdemic, and before then my favorite of that type of a thing was when Mystery Science Theater did a movie called Mitchell with Jodan Baker, and then now it's Birdemic from Rift Tracks. It is. I can now appreciate where Joe's coming from just after watching this. If I had to watch it straight without that, I would probably feel like Danny, but nope. I'm now with Joe.
The first time I watched this movie, we used to have horrible movie night at my house when we lived in El Paso, and we would invite all our friends over, and we would just find the worst movies that we could and watch them. And this one was right at the top of the list, and we just ripped on it the whole way through, and it was just so much fun.
See, if you're going to watch a movie like this, then that would be the way to do it. Don't watch it by yourself, or else you will probably unalive yourself by the end of the movie. And plus, you'll just be fucking miserable. So if you're going to watch something like that, make sure you got a lot of support around you. And,
alcohol.
Alcohol
or nice legalized marijuana.
Those
some
horse
kind of
pills
medication
that you were doing when you first watched Rick and Morty, highly recommended.
Yeah.
Highly recommended.
Yeah, I'll see if I can swing that.
You can find all about global warming and pollution.
Listen, I've already saved the Rift Tracks to my watch later, so don't worry. I'll be checking that out.
You'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I love that type of like snippy, little quick. Like they almost pass you by. They're too fast, and you have to think about it for a second. And yeah, MST 3K was that. what was that on before it was like a thing? Like it was a
Public
bit
broadcast, wasn't it? Because it
No,
was.
no,
I think
no.
it was,
free to the public.
Comedy Central back
Comedy
in
Central, I'm pretty
yeah.
sure. But it was just like a bit. It wasn't like even a show at that point. It was just they would do it. They did like a couple one-offs of it, and
Well,
I
if
remember
you watch,
seeing it and like, yeah,
It was originally a public access, and then it got bought up by back when Comedy Central was like new. Comedy Central bought it up, and that's where I had first seen it. Was they used to do Thanksgiving marathons, and
yes,
I would watch. And they did like they did a lot of the old like Rodan, Godzillas, and
yep.
the best was of course was Gamera. They did a little Gamera song. You know, Gamera is really sweet. Gamera is turtle meat. We all love Gamera. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, the best part to me was that, of course, they're watching the movie, but then they had the just terrible, like, jokey bits in between.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
With like the trash can robot. And
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, just fantastic. It was just a fun show. I mean, it was silly on purpose, and you just went along with it. You know.
Well, I want to say Joel Hodgins was his stand up was prop comedy. So they kind of built that into the show where they turned it into an invention exchange at the beginning of the shows, where they just basically just make up these wacky prop type things and on either side, where Dr. Forrester and him would just come up with something like some zany prop type of a thing.
Are y'all watching?
Camp.
Are y'all watching Invincible?
No, I haven't yet.
It's good. Start of the new season.
Yeah, not yet. I will though.
Yeah, it's good.
Well, actually, me and Jackie both enjoyed the first season of Invincible, so hopefully we'll be able to sit down and watch the second.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Are you watching Gen V?
Yeah.
Is that any good?
Yeah, it's good. The thing about Gen V,
not as good as boys.
Yeah, it's not as good as the boys. And also, it does this thing that the boys did, but not as bad, where every character is unlikable. It's like,
oh yeah,
there's something about everybody that makes them a piece of shit in one way or the other, and it's like total like cynicism, porn almost. It's which that kind of bothers me sometimes, and this seems to be the new trend in like, what would you call premium shows or you know, Game of Thrones did that too. You know, even though I enjoyed Game of Thrones, they had this thing where everybody except for maybe who's the little dwarf guy. Anyway, but yeah, everybody was just a piece of shit, you know, and that's, I don't know if this is a reflection of like society today or whatever, but some of these shows are like that. They're not all like that, you know, but and I don't know. It gives me like an uneasy feeling sometimes, and just a bummer, makes me feel bummed out. And then I have to turn it off and realize, you know, real life is not like that. Not everybody is just a complete piece of shit like these shows turn out to be.
Society wouldn't work. I mean, you just couldn't treat everybody that way.
No, you know, and it's all backstabbing and it's just anyway. But other than that, it's pretty good.
It's dramatic.
It's not as good as
like a soap
The Boys,
opera, right?
like Morrissey said, but I think it's still pretty good. So I just thought I'd bring that up real quick. As far as like what I'm working on, I haven't been doing much of anything. You guys? I've been really busy with work for one thing. So
I don't know. I gotta fix my audio bookshelf now. Apparently, it's
really screwed up.
Yeah, it's not working on Host. So I'm debating just scrapping it and uninstalling it and then reinstalling it and see if that'll fix whatever the problem is.
Well, I know the Docker
it just like randomly
container is
started.
really easy.
It wasn't. It just randomly stopped too. It's not like there was
there wasn't
an
an
upgrade.
update?
I had that happen. I think it was an upgrade that happened though, where like I had 3 or 4 users set up so that my friends could access it, and then like my main user went away, and then I had to I did know the password. A couple of the other users, because I had set them up. Only one user was left, and it was not like an admin user. So I had to go in and make it an admin user, switch it over so that switch the username to what was previously my main admin account, and
Better
switch
make
the
sure mine's
password
still
so that it would
working.
work again. And then like all the stuff that I had listened to, all the work that I had done to fix matches was completely gone. And oh my, that just hours and hours of work gone, and it sucked. But I still really like audiobooks.
The life of soccer.
Mine's still working. I don't know what y'all did to screw it up.
Yeah, but have you done a lot of work with matching?
Matching? What do you mean?
Well, you got to go
like
in
JD?
and tell it what book it is and
no,
what
'cause
series it belongs to.
I didn't, because you already had a giant collection. I didn't really have a big collection, so I uploaded everything through the web interface that I had. So, but if I had had as many books as you, that would have taken months. So,
Yeah, I don't. I'm not even doing them all. I'm just doing them as I listen to them. So.
yeah. So that's probably part of it too. So I just went through the web interface and did that way. But as far as what's not working, my Seer XNG or Seer nginx, my self-hosted search engine quit working, and that wasn't due to an upgrade either. That was just stopped working. I don't know what happened. So I have to work on that, and
Were
I
you
need
still
to-
using it, or
yeah, that was my main search engine. And,
really?
yeah, because it was just a front end to like all these other engines, like Google and Bing and stuff. Except you weren't being tracked. You know, it was the main
Right.
thing. But yeah, I don't
What
know.
about that other one where the open source
Yacy?
one? Yacy, that's it.
That's just that
Hot garbage.
Well, the concept is cool. It's almost like how Federation works, where you're connected
Right.
to all these other Yacy users, and each Yacy user does their part of crawling the web and gathering results and stuff. And I mean, that's cool, but in practice, it wasn't good. Like the results were kind of a bummer, and I don't know what it needs to do. I think just not enough people used it, or devoted CPU cycles to crawling everything or what. But yeah, I gave up on it. But that Seer XNG or nginx or whatever it's called, that one's great. I just don't know what happened to it. It just broke. It just broke. Other than that, though, I can't think of anything. I've been posting a lot of stuff on Lemmy as far as the new single board computer community, and trying to get that going, and microcontrollers in our own community. So
There's been much recently in the world of Linux, at least posting wise. I haven't seen many articles that were very interesting.
yeah, I posted a few, but it's like, I mean, we talked about Joplin last time, and there was a good article about Joplin, and so I put that in there. And there's a pretty cool list that Mozilla did. I don't know if y'all have seen it, but it's just came out recently. I think yesterday, about it's called Privacy Not Included, and it's their naughty list of all the worst privacy respecting gifts you could get for somebody. I think Sonos is on there. It says Google went from just okay to officially bad this year. Also joining the formerly okay but now naughty list are Fitbit and Tile trackers. Guys know what Tile trackers are?
Yeah, they're it's a little thing about that big that you attach to like your keys.
Like an AirTag or something?
Yeah,
they're
basically.
just like an AirTag, just a little bit cheaper, and they work with Google.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. It says the bad guys who keep getting worse: Amazon Ring, Samsung, Microsoft, Xbox, and Wise. Wise makes those little cameras, don't they? And
Yes. Wise, from my understanding, Wise's back end those cameras go to a back end server owned by Wise.
Okay. I don't know why they're against him. I guess something bad must happen. iRobot makes the Roombas, says their video recordings are reviewed by humans for AI training, and then the resulted in images from those video recordings showing up on Facebook somehow. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
There was
Microsoft.
a article in the newspaper earlier this year that somebody's Roomba put the video of them using the bathroom.
Oh.
And
really?
she didn't know it, and it found its way out on as a virtual TikTok or something. And
Really?
she was very mortified.
And she recognized herself or whatever?
She saw it because she saw it, or somebody pointed it out to her. I don't remember the detail of it, but they said that they were, because they were not keeping it private, or somebody at the company had released it. They weren't sure which at the time. It was on the national news.
Oh, wow.
Well, the link is in the show notes, so you can kind of go through there and check stuff out. But like the worst of the worst, and I'm not going to give the reasons, but were Google Nest, Wise, Sonos, Amazon Ring, and Tile.
We have a Ring, but we make sure that none of our Ring cameras are pointed into the house.
Yeah.
So if they really want to see the cars driving out front or the cars driving through the alley, I don't care.
Oh, also, there was a big story that came out that they laid off hundreds of developers from the Alexa division within Amazon recently. So I wonder if that's means that there's an end to Alexa in the future coming soon, or what that means. I don't know.
Well, the other thing about the tiles because it's been talked about in women's group, is the AirTags will start going. Your phone will start picking them up after a while, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the tiles don't have that safety feature.
Mm.
And they're used. Tiles are cheaper, so they've had a lot of domestic violence issues with tiles.
It says first, Life 360, who makes the tile, was sued for selling users' location data without their permission. And then, while other tracker makers like Apple are adding features that make it harder and harder to use them to track people without their permission, Tile seems to be walking that back a bit. So it sounds like exactly what you were saying.
Yeah, that's in a lot of the women's groups to really look, because the tile won't go off, and they tell, especially for if you've got some issues, to start looking around. And the tiles actually handle they put them with Gorilla Glue, and they do a lot better staying under vehicles.
Mm.
And they that's it. There's certain things, like when there's the holidays come around, everybody starts reminding women not to. What you need to do, start checking around for things, especially with kids and things like that. I don't think you guys see these, but this is something that makes the women's groups, it doesn't matter if they're national, local, states, they tend to, hey, don't forget, these are things that are going on.
Now, Google, since they bought Fitbit, it says you cannot log into your Fitbit device without having a Google account. And then that means that all health tracking data will be collected by Google as well as Fitbit. So they got a ding for that.
And there's something here, a watch for kids called the Angel Watch.
Yeah, I
it's
saw
basically
that.
the same idea. Well, basically, there's no, where did it say here? It's collecting all the information, GPS, what is it? GPS tracking, cellular phone calling, video and audio monitoring, remote body vitals, and the ultimate lifeline to keep loved ones safe. Target the smartwatch to parents of young kids to help bring security and peace of mind. Huge problem is because there is no privacy policy for this surveillance device. There's
That's
no way to
crazy.
know anything about this company. How this company handles all their very sensitive personal information. This device and the Angel Watch app can collect on you and your vulnerable loved ones.
This is for children.
Yep.
About a year and a half ago, Angel Watch was really big with the special education, especially ASD
Mhm.
community, but then it kind of fell out of favor a while ago. And I didn't really see anything where they were talking about it, so this could be why.
Yeah. Oh,
Well, don't get that for your kids.
okay.
I know you had it
Well,
on
you
your
guys
Christmas
have seen
list.
the new thing that they've been pushing for with the Apple AirTag. They have insoles where you can put the Apple AirTag in your kids' insoles.
There you go. The only problem is my kids go through so many shoes.
Well, it's an insert and everything, but it has on the underside and it's got extra padding so you can put the AirTag in. I'm just like, that weirds me out a little.
Yeah, I mean, I understand wanting to know what your kids are up to, but that's kind of creepy.
Well, I can see where it would also be helpful, especially with, they call them runners, but it doesn't mean they run. They just tend to wander.
Right.
Now, would you tell your kids that you've done this, or would you do this secretly?
Well, okay, usually a wanderer is somebody with a mental disability.
Well, I don't mean like that, but I mean just what your say, Honky, would you put this in your daughter's shoe and not tell her that it's there, or?
I don't know. I would put it in. I would probably put it in her shoe and not feel too many qualms about it.
Really?
But I'm not sure if I would tell her or not. Yeah, if
Well,
I would
so
find
long as you're legally responsible for your child's actions, then you should know what your child's actions are.
Yeah, I mean, like I don't have
Right.
kids, so I'm coming from this from ignorance, so that's why I'm asking you guys. Like, I'm not judging you or anything. I just don't know what the whole. I just don't know what the whole thing is.
I can see where it would be a great thing with like autism spectrum.
Sure.
Especially
older.
because the children with autism, when they are runners, tend to look for bodies of water.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, when they wander, they have been found already drowned.
They get into the water?
The water, it's I don't remember exactly. It's something about it's like the calming effect of water, the view of water, but it is something that is very known in the ASD community, especially with younger ones, especially nonverbal. They will seek out bodies of water.
Huh.
But we're talking nonverbal, usually under the mental age of 5.
Right.
And that would be a great way, especially because we live around here with a lot of ponds and stuff, that I could see where this would be an issue. I mean, right behind JoJo's school is a creek. And they shut down part of the playground or the fields and stuff when we had the flooding because of how deep it got.
Florida
I could see how this would also be helpful with like older adults with dementia.
I was going to say Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's, yeah.
But even like my son is not autistic at all, but he was a wanderer when he was younger. He's a little less of that now, but that wasn't like anything mental. He was just like, hey, I'm just gonna go somewhere. And he would just wander away.
He was an adventurer.
He was an adventurer. I remember they had to lock down a Barnes and Noble because he decided he was going to wander off. And he almost made it out into the mall. But
what would be the? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say one of the cashiers saw him and snagged him.
Grabbed him.
Yeah.
What would be the cutoff age? Do you think where you probably wouldn't?
Where you would feel creepy about it?
Yeah.
I would, if my kid is able to verbalize
21.
them, yes. I'm thinking even it depends on the mentality of the child.
Well, yeah, I understand that.
Even for the adult, because my grandmother had dementia, and an AirTag would have been awesome.
I don't mean kids or people with special needs. I just mean just like an average, whatever.
Well, all right. Are you asking like at what age? Like if I decided to tag my kids or put that insole into their shoes, at what age would I stop doing that?
Yeah,
probably about the point that I would give them an actual cell phone. If I felt, then I could just, if I was concerned about where they are, I could just call them. Or if something happens to them, A, have a way to call me, or B, their hopefully the cell phone would still be on them, and like a cops or whoever can try to track the actual phone, or I can
Yeah.
track
do
my
any-
phone thing on the app on the phone or whatever.
Now,
Right.
Do
I
any of you
have
guys-
access to my son's Google account, so if I really need to, I can log into his account and use the whole "where's my device" thing.
Right.
So
But
gonna-
we also gave him a cell phone as soon as he hit middle school because there isn't payphones anymore. And
Right.
he has after school programs, before school programs, or he'll just send me text messages and remind me that, hey, I have something going on this afternoon, which is greatly appreciated than having to wait in line at the office to see if he can get to the phone.
Yeah.
See, with us, we have my daughter has one of my old cell phones, but it doesn't have a SIM card in it. So even though it doesn't have a SIM card, it can still dial 911. That was a feature they added many, many years ago.
I
So
remember that, yeah.
if there's something that happens at the house, she can still dial 911. And I installed Voxer on it, so that way she can text us, "Hey, that I'm home" through Voxer, and ask us any questions or anything. So as long as the Wi-Fi is working in the house, she can text us, and it doesn't matter as long as the phone has battery life. If something bad happens, fire, whatever, somebody tries to break in, she can still dial 911.
I
Yeah.
did something similar, but what I did was I used Google Voice, and my dad's
Right.
never going to set up a Google Voice account, so I used his number to basically turn JoJo's phone, which didn't have a SIM card at that time, now it does, but back then it didn't, into a Wi-Fi phone. So he could make calls and send text messages like a regular phone, so long as he was connected to Wi-Fi using his Google Voice number.
Now, is
What was-
Google Voice still a thing?
Yes, and you can still get a new number.
Yeah,
Really?
I still use it.
Yeah,
Yep.
I use mine.
I
use mine all the time.
I use mine as well.
A lot for texting, actually.
Now, it used to be a lot better for texting. I used to use that for all my texting. Like my regular phone number would be for phone calls, but then my Google Voice number was my exclusive texting one, because it was so much easier to set up like group texts and be able to do it from a computer.
Right.
Then Hangouts happened, and it was still easy to do it, but you had to do it from Hangouts. And then Hangouts disassociated itself from Google Voice, and well, Hangouts went away, but Voice is still there, and you can still do the group messages. It's just not as easy to automate as it used to be. So
Yeah. I've used Google Voice for my customers for like my business stuff for years because the routing you can do and the texting and like it's just a great VoIP system for free.
that's what Jackie does. Is she has her Google Voice number for her business. So
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And it has like call screening stuff. It's pretty good about not getting any kind of like fake calls, spam calls. I almost never get a spam call at Google Voice.
And it's a great backup to have if like T-Mobile goes down, which it does happen every now and again, and you can't get a phone call or make a phone call using that. I can just turn my phone into a Wi-Fi phone and use my Google Voice number.
You guys were talking about tracking and stuff, and my wife and I have shared our locations with each other on Google Maps for the better part of a decade, probably. So she always knows where I am, and I always know where she is within a few minutes. I mean, it used to be, it would be up to like 20 minutes or so. Now it's like pretty much real time. So, I mean, Google already knows where I am anyway.
Right.
Yeah, so what's the difference? But it's nice to, there are those
Where the
days where
Wi-Fi
she goes
doesn't need
shopping.
password.
But there's those days where she goes shopping for like 5 or 6 hours, and all of a sudden I'm like, man, she's been gone a long time. And, and I haven't heard from her, and which is also unusual because usually at least once an hour, we chat or something. So anyway, I can look her up, and it helps me feel better. Okay, she's still at the shopping center.
No, I don't think it's something that we've ever set up, mostly because we've never really thought about it. So, yeah.
Well, and I tend to, like, because my health isn't great, like she worries about me, and so it makes her feel better to know where I am as well, because I'm always out going to different appointments and stuff, and So anyway, it just helps us. That's one thing I would say technology has helped us with, is just sort of feeling a little safer about being away, and we don't
You
necessarily need
just
to
don't
call
take
each
your
other.
phone when you go over to your girlfriend's house. Is the whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
leave it in the
well,
car.
you can spoof your location. You know, it's not that hard. So.
Well, the only place that I have problems with in that using cell phone or even getting the Wi-Fi is when we're at the children's hospital. Like
Yeah.
it is so bad
There's-
down there, and they've got all that construction with the streets right there, and then we're already in areas where there's X-rays and MRIs anyway. So I mean, I will send him a text message and I'll quote the time on it when I'm sending it, and it might show up. Yeah.
They've started to really fill in a lot of those areas around me. I used to have that a lot too, especially inside of medical institutions where it's sort of shielded and stuff. But it seems like within the last year or two, they must have put up extra towers, or maybe that's part of the 5G rollout, that it's like more densely covered, or I'm not sure, you know, what the infrastructure implications are, but I just noticed that now it's very rare that I have a completely dead spot, whereas I did used to have them quite a bit. So
Well, just like the MRI area, that's always a given, and we're in there for 2-3 hours. But I can go down to the basement and make phone calls.
so there you go. There's shielding on the walls, obviously. So Faraday cage.
Well, I don't blame him. I'd rather be safe than sorry. But I mean, there's points where he's waiting to get information from me, so I can at least tell him we're on our way back, and I can't even get into that area until I get like halfway down the road.
Yeah. Remember when you couldn't even have your phones on, though? Like, that was a big thing in all hospitals. Like, no, you have to turn your phone off.
Well, I've instilled in my wife a distrust of public Wi-Fi, but I haven't convinced her or shown her enough to actually be able to like connect to the VPNs and things to make
that's what I was
public
gonna say.
Wi-Fi
Use a VPN.
safe.
You're
So it's a little bit more than she wants to get into. So she understands that public Wi-Fi is dangerous, but it's just a little bit more than she wants to dig in to set up a VPN
My
or
wife wouldn't do it
use a
either.
Wireshark or
Yeah.
WireGuard or anything like that.
The only way I could get that to stick is if I just made it an always-on VPN connection.
Yeah.
So that whatever network she was on the VPN.
Now, before we head out, is there any Black Friday purchases you guys are looking to or anything like that?
Oh,
I don't know.
Walmart has had their Black Friday deal going on for like a week now. So
Oh, really?
My daughters both really like the Skull Candy Hesh 3s. And, well, they break rather easy. So last year for her birthday, my eldest got a brand new, she's the first owner, set of Hesh 3s. And they're kind of falling apart now after, a single year. So she wanted another one, but they're not actually, I don't think they're making the Hesh 3s anymore. So the Hesh A and C looks exactly the same. And I was able to pick one of those up for $50 at Walmart through their Black Friday thing. Jackie actually went to the store and picked it up on the day that they opened it up. But yeah, it's basically the same model, except it has active noise canceling.
So let me get this straight. Joe, the king of headphones and headphone repairs, buys brand new headphones.
Look, they started using the Hesh 3s because I was repairing them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they are selling them because they're out of stock on Amazon.
Yeah. They really liked them, but they had never been the first owners of them. So that they wanted to be the first owners of some Hesh 3s, so they got Hesh 3s. And then, like Tala, when she got hers for her birthday, and this was right before they stopped selling them on Amazon because they quit making them, they break really easy. And she broke the forks with both of them within the first week. So got replaced with 3D printed ones almost immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Are those
The
the ones
thing
you were
is
buying
our
for cheap?
teenagers, the girls live on their headphones. They answer the phone on them. They're always attached Bluetooth. It's easier to send a text message when you need to get a hold of them, even if they're upstairs.
You just made me think of something. I have a friend from Australia who was telling me tonight that it was this afternoon because obviously they're so far ahead, but he was saying they went to a parent-teacher kind of evening and the kids came along and he thought I was going to be awful and he was happy that he actually was late because he had to stay late at work. But then when he got there, he said it was kind of interesting because they had alcohol for the adults and then the kids were doing a silent disco. And I'm like, what the hell is a silent disco? And he's like,
dude.
well, they all wear their headphones. I'm like, that's a thing? You're kidding me?
No, I just saw
That's crazy.
a set of headphones for sale. Like somebody had like 100 sets of headphones for sale that was called silent disco headsets, and they like light up and stuff or around the ear cups, and
I can't believe it.
It's interesting.
It's weird.
It's usually used for like underground. The idea is like you can have like an underground disco where you don't have to worry about the noise ordinances and stuff. You just give everybody headphones. So everyone's listening to the same music, but it's not being broadcast all over the place and causing a disturbance.
I bet it looks weird if you're not wearing
not
headphones and watching from the outside.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But then, like, nobody's
You should
talking.
check them out,
right?
the silent discos, because they have them for the Taylor. That's where I was talking about Taylor Swift. They had a Taylor Swift watch party. So all these girls are just wearing the headphones, and they're all just, occasionally they all start belting the song out at the same time. It's really weird to watch on the TikTok videos.
I'll have to check that out because that's exactly how I imagined it. Like they're all shuffling and all we hear is like feet scuffing,
breathing.
Right, exactly. And to them, they're like,
bad
totally
singing, out of tune.
Yeah, right. That would be me.
Yeah.
I was going to suggest if you need an SSD, supposedly the prices are going to go way, way up here pretty soon. So now may be the time to get them. I don't know what happened.
Time to go to Micro Center.
Yeah.
If I can find a good M.2 SSD, I might grab it. I mean, I'm sure I can, but if I can find one that fits my budget or whatever.
I can't remember if they use the 2280. I think it's the 2242s for the 5290s.
I think you're right. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely an older standard, but still not M.2. it's not.
Well,
too bad.
no, it's a different size. Like
yes,
the 2280s are about that long. The 2242s are about that one. The 42 millimeter.
So this was something interesting I read in the manual, was that port for the ones that have a cellular radio is a dual purpose port where it can either be the chip for wireless or an M.2.
A second hard drive.
I was like, that's so cool. What a smart idea.
It's actually most of your devices that will take a cellular module will also take an M.2, but that's usually a 2230, which is even smaller.
Yeah.
But they will take another hard drive in that slot, which is kind of awesome.
Does the size make a difference in capacity?
Not really. I mean, because of
Are you asking if size matters?
Because it's a slightly smaller space, the larger capacities are usually a bit more expensive because you're trying to fit more.
You're cramming
into a tinier space, but not really. And the fact that it's a 2230 or a 2242 instead of a 2280, and it's a less common size, also does make it a little bit more expensive, but it doesn't really have anything to do with the technology.
Gotcha. Well, I'll have my eye out for one of those then.
I gotta tell you, I am planning on avoiding Black Friday.
I don't leave the house on Black Friday.
I can't. I can't bring myself. I worked retail for too long, and then I worked restaurants around the big shopping centers, and I absolutely hate Mother's Day, Mexican Mother's Day, and Black Friday.
I have relatives that would two aunts that would get up 4 a.m. and they would go hardcore all day. You'd literally see them at dinner time. And they had young kids at the time, and so they did all their shopping. They just literally knocked it out. They'd come home with just cars full of stuff, and
I'm
they're
done
like,
shopping
"That's it."
by Thanksgiving. If you
Oh,
need
you're way
anything
more
after
prepared than I am.
Thanksgiving, no, if you need anything after Thanksgiving, to fuck it. It's happening after the New Year. It will be your birthday present.
We do
Or
this
in his
stuff
case,
where
the anniversary present or something like that.
we do this thing where all year long, if she wants something that we just think it isn't right time to pay $50 for something or whatever, like we'll just say, "No, I'm glad you like it," or maybe we'll think of that and then that's all the stuff she gets for Christmas. Like she'll get like a bunch of that kind of stuff.
My middle child has finally figured it out, how her father works. And it's, if you want something for Christmas, ask me, or better yet, send me a link to it. And guess what you're going to get for Christmas?
Yep.
Magic.
Yeah, right.
Well, okay, so we're building the hope chest, though, for both the girls. That hope they leave the house soon.
In that case, you give them
Ty's
cash.
Be 21 next year.
Yeah, in that case, you say, here's a couple $100 to start looking for.
Well, no, it's like dishes, nice pots and pans. All the small things that you don't think you're gonna really want, like a good pair of stoneware dishes, because those things are good for microwave, they're good for the stove, they're good for the freezer, they're good for the refrigerator.
Have you ever heard of their stainless steel pots and they have copper on the bottom? They're called Revereware. I think it might be like a Pennsylvania thing or a Northeast thing, but they're basically just a thin steel pot with a copper lined bottom, black plastic handles with a simple lid, very lightweight but durable. My grandmother made sure I could not live anywhere outside of the house unless I had the full set of these. So I got them when I was like 19, and I still have them, and I literally still use them every single day. She's like, "These pots will last you the rest of your life," and I was like, "Yeah, sure."
My family, it's cast iron.
Well, yeah, of course. Cast iron's tricky
Southern,
though.
And so one of the gifts that my parents are giving both the girls is a good flat iron 18-inch skillet.
Teach them how to take care of it, though, because that's the mistake I made.
They know how. We have them. They know how to do it. And then Corningware is happening. The Pyrex.
Oh yeah,
Pyrex.
Good Lord, we have way too much Pyrex. I don't know why we have a whole cabinet full of it. I'm like, what are we doing with it?
I had to actually stop my mom. I had to finally tell her to quit buying me Corningware.
Yeah. Yep.
And then my mom and my brother moved back in together. My brother moved back in with my parents, so there's double the Corningware. And we each have our own style too, so we each have our own theme, and we're at that point of like, you can't buy Corningware unless it's one of those really odd pieces that you never see.
No more Corningware, no more coffee cups, nothing.
Yeah. Yep. Every couple of years we get a new set of glasses, and it's like, you see them and you think, "Oh, these are so cool, we have to get them." It's like, we already have like 5 sets. Like,
no, we are not getting any new glasses until after all the kids are moved out. That's it.
It's the same with dishes. I'm going to own a set of dishes that all are the same dishes.
You know what? My wife, she picks on me because I drink out of like plastic giveaway cups from like concerts and stuff. That's been my, my cups. Actually, my favorite is this. It's got a cover on it because I have cats and I don't like that they want to drink out of my glass. But yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's the same way. We have a whole chest. What is it? The China cabinet that's full of like all kinds of gravy boats. Like, when do we use a gravy boat? But like that. But it's there, I guess, someday if we ever need it. She has a thing for teapots, so we have like literally 50 teapots, all these different designs, and they're really cool. They're all like deco and crazy color paint and shapes and stuff.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
I only have 2 tea kettles. I only have 2, and one is a 4-cup and one is a 12-cup.
Yeah.
And they're good quality. That's the deal.
I think we're boring them.
It's just
I don't
getting
know.
late.
It's just
It's
Yeah.
already past midnight.
No, I know.
well, the
It's
Black Friday
107.
deals aren't really showing up this year. Have you guys been checking the ads?
No, not really.
Well,
Surprise, Joe.
I'm not really motivated, you know. I try not to just shop for the sake of shopping. It's too easy when you browse and you start opening those ads and you're like, "Ooh, look at it's stuff you never really had an intention to be
Well-
interested in," and then all of a sudden,
Around here, I will definitely keep an eye on like Facebook Marketplace because the rich people around here just don't care what they sell things for. They just want it gone.
well, in the early part of January when people got Christmas presents they didn't want.
Oh, it's great picking up a TV in January.
well, there was Walmart's got the Black Friday for a 43-inch TV for $98.
There you go.
I don't need a 43-inch TV. I've got 2 46s right here that I got for free.
I just don't even know the TV.
Well, I was just thinking like that might be something to put in the hope chest, but I don't see the space there for it. But again, the chest is supposed to stay in the chest. If it don't fit in the chest, then it ain't getting added.
Well, our kids have never had TVs in their own rooms, which I find a little odd because I guess my parents really didn't want to see me all that much. So they gave me a TV from the time I was
Yep.
like 9.
Yep, me
It was a
too.
little black and white thing, the first one. But yeah, I mean, they kept upgrading over the years. And, I did have a color TV when I was a teenager, and it was the go the hell away and spend more time in your room and leave us alone TV.
Yeah.
But think about it.
Yeah, I had that, and I had my Sega Genesis, I had Master System first, and then Genesis. I was the weird Sega kid. Everyone else had Nintendo.
Loved my Sega.
Okay.
All right, we got to stop. They were being told to stop.
Okay.
Lugbot's done.
Fine, Lugbot, you win. Gosh.
Okay, go diet.
All right. Our next recording date will be December 1st, 2023. Our music is Downright, provided by Klaatu and Broam. I'd like to thank Delwyn for the use of the Mumble server. Finally, I'd like to give a special thanks to Fatherfinch, Fweeb, Dave Morris, and Tony Beemus for all their help and support over the years. And actually, we are not using Delwyn's Mumble server. I gotta fix that too. We are using nginx's Mumble server. So we want to thank nginx.
So it's the Lugcast mumble server. Finally got our own.
Nginx. Boom. I want to thank nginx for the use of the Mumble server.
Mm.
Put Delwyn down in the special thanks section. Probably clean up some of those names too. Anyways, I still got to put the this Mumble server on the website too. I was slacking. All right. With us tonight has been Eric,
See you in a couple weeks.
Joe,
Good night.
Jackie,
Thanks for having me.
Lugbot,
I am dying now.
Minix,
Good night.
Mortensey,
Good night, everyone.
and Netminer.
Be on mute.
Hey, he's unmuted.
He passed out an hour ago.
Don't blame him.
All right. And I've been Hunky Magoo. Good night, everybody.
Good night.